point going around the green space and the townhome section. And I've got some images that show you what that will look like in terms of the commercial. But if you want a good example for that, I don't know how many folks in here have been to like Market Street in New Albany. Now that's all brick and it's all Georgian, but the concept is the same. You know, you've got buildings that kind of come up to the street and engage the street. The architecture really takes over, and you know, you've got benches, you've got planters, things like that out along the street that really make that kind of a pleasant kind of dining and shopping experience. And that's really the intent here, is to create some retail along the street that will provide opportunities for people, anyone in the village, obviously, and for people in the development to, you know, walk over, ride over. We are going to create a connection to the bike trail that kind of comes up and down through that area. So if you're coming from the bike trail with your family, you can ride on into the community green or over to the retail area and get a snack, a coffee, or a you know, ice cream, whatever it is ultimately that we can get you know, tenants in there for, will be available for folks to come over. The community green itself is kind of the central organizing theme, and that's going to be essentially an open space where, you know, they can hold events like movie on the green night, something like that, where or you know, people can just enjoy casually if they're not holding an event. But it becomes kind of a central gathering space for the entire community where people can go. We're going to have, you know, benches out there. We're going to have a gazebo out there. You know, just places for people to walk, sit, do those kinds of things. And then we have a townhome portion, which is really what it's kind of in the middle there. It's hard for me to kind of reach or show you. I don't think a pointer will actually reflect on the screen. Can I see your later point? It won't? Okay, never mind. But it's right there in the center. Oh, the mayor's going to be my Vanna White. Yeah, so the townhome section is right there. It's going to be right there in the center of the project, and then up in the portion up against Route 3. So we're keeping kind of the townhomes away from all of the existing residents, you know, on the border of the property line. We've kept them in the middle of the project. And then everything really kind of to the north and to the east, where we adjoin kind of the adjacent properties, is going to be single-family homes and patio homes. And for those of you who aren't familiar, patio homes is now kind of a different type of retirement community. You know, it used to be everybody did kind of the 4-unit condos. I don't know if you guys remember those that Epcon built, and you'd have 2 units on the back, 2 units on the front, and you'd have 4 attached walls. And then, you know, some people would build duplexes. Patio homes have really evolved that concept, because what they found was a lot of the buyers who were older still wanted to have their own house. They didn't want to have adjoining neighbors, but they don't want a giant yard. They still want the benefits that a condo provides in terms of like the mowing and the maintenance. A lot of these folks are folks that might want to travel 6 months out of the year and don't want to worry who's plowing the snow on their sidewalk or who's mowing their yard when they're gone in the summer. And so the patio homes kind of provide all of those amenities for the buyers in that section of the community. And then the single family, and those are all for sale. The townhomes are all for sale, and the single family is all for sale product. So nothing in here is rental. It's all for sale. And then the single family homes are typically what you would expect of a single family community, kind of anywhere, you know, Sunbury, Galena, you know, anywhere in Ohio. It can be very high quality homes, all natural materials. We've got some architecture in here that I can kind of share with you. Let's see if this will rotate. You might have to. This is kind of giving me a little bit of grief here. All right, this actually, I probably should have started with the slide because you can see things a little bit better. This is just kind of an illustrative version of this. So you can kind of see a little bit better, get a little bit better of an indication of the layout, kind of where the stormwater ponds are going to be. I won't really bore you with the engineering details. I know there's always a lot of questions about flooding. So one of the things that I will tell you is that as part of what we have to do here, we have to take a comprehensive look at the entire site in terms of the stormwater. So if you're an adjacent resident and you've noticed that you've got maybe some flooding that happens between you and the golf course, really any stormwater that comes onto that site, whether it's from the adjacent property, whether it's just from rain, any stormwater that comes onto that property is going to have to be accommodated by the development. So we're going to have to pull it into our stormwater system. It's going to have to go over to the stormwater ponds and exit from there. So any current standing water out there is going to be cleaned up through the comprehensive stormwater drainage system. This is a kind of an overview that just gives a better indication of where a lot of the pedestrian access comes from. We've got essentially sidewalks throughout the community, again, that will take you from any street, any house in the development into the commercial area. We'll take you out to Walnut. We do plan on having a path along, sidewalk along Walnut. There's currently some conversations about how that might get extended into the village. Although that's outside of our property, we're still, we're happy to continue on with that discussion. So you can kind of see here how the sidewalk network kind of works through the community, the paths. You can kind of see along the bottom how the path comes from the commercial area and from the park in the center over and connects to the regional bike path that runs along the old railroad. And then you can kind of see how the open space is organized through the community. What's that? Just a minute? Okay. I got all kinds of time. That's fantastic. I love being on TV. As long as there's not a camera in back of me focused on my bald head, we'll be okay. I've had that happen, actually. The city of Sunbury, the camera is in the back, and every time I see myself on video, it's just always a shiny spot. So this is kind of an example of the landscape plan for the community. And again, this is this is kind of a starting point for us. Street trees throughout the community, as you would expect, very well landscaped. If you've been in any Romanelli and Hughes community, you know that they spend a lot of money on signage and entry features and landscaping kind of throughout the community in the open space. The same thing is going to hold true here. Street trees, we're going to have all of the commercial area is going to be essentially sidewalk, from the front door of the commercial area to the street, and we'll have planters, benches, and things like that that you would expect in kind of like a more, again, what we're trying to create is a more village-focused environment. Rather than having one large retailer there, we're trying to create a lot of small retailers that you can kind of walk back and forth between. We're also creating an opportunity up against the Route 3 side for some offices. So if there are doctors or dentists or insurance agents or other folks or like a small medical office that wants to locate here, trying to create space for those kind of uses here that would cater to the community and the surrounding area. Oops. Okay, there we go. So this is a better enlargement, a little bit of kind of the entry and some of the roadways and kind of the landscaping and the feature that we kind of expect. The lower diagram there is that central open space. That's about a 2-acre space, if you want to get an idea of what the size is. So anybody in here that has a 2-acre lot knows what 2 acres looks like. It's a pretty considerable space for a community-focused green. One of the things that we've also tried to do on that is we've tried to make sure that really all of the architecture fronts that green so that when you're in that space, when you're in the park area, you're not staring at the backs of houses. You're really looking at the front of the townhomes. You're looking at kind of the front of the commercial. So it won't feel like this is something buried in the back of the architecture. Matt, are you sabotaging me here? That's all right. If I can't laugh at this, then I can't laugh at anything. This is just kind of an example again of how we're trying to deal with more of kind of what we would call the, village or more urban village areas. Again, trash cans, just decorative furniture, decorative benches, those kind of things to give people an opportunity to actually just enjoy the space, not just show up, visit a commercial space and leave. We want people to kind of be out there. We want people to be able to meet their friends there, sit and talk, walk their dog, whatever it is. We want to attract people to that space ultimately. This is an example kind of the signage. So we've got 3 pieces of this that we're working on. We have a main entry feature, which is the one on the lower end, and that's going to be hopefully located in the boulevard. Now, we've got some work to do with the utility company because, again, the utility company has a very the overhead power lines run through there. So the utility company is going to have to be kind of the final arbiter of whether or not, what we can do along some of that stretch. But we're working very hard to get some attractive signage out front. The other piece of it was really the commercial signage. And then I want to get back to, here we go. And then the one up in the upper left, one of the things that we've been hearing from the village of Galena for a long time through just conversations on a number of different pieces, this piece, another piece that we were interested in, or that Romanelli and Hughes was interested in, is the village is really looking to have some identity out along Route 3. Right now there's really nothing along Route 3 that says, you're in the village of Galena, welcome to the village of Galena. So Romanelli and Hughes has agreed to create a sign easement out along the corner and build kind of a taller welcome to Galena sign. So it won't be relative to the Arrowhead community, it will be a purely dedicated to the village of Galena and kind of the village of Galena identity. And where that goes, we're still going to work with the village on that, whether that wants to be kind of up at the northern end or if it wants to be down by the commercial. I think there's some flexibility there depending on where maybe the village wants to see that sign placed. Right now, we have it kind of shown right at the corner of Walnut and Route 3, which felt like an appropriate place to us. But, again, one of the things that Vince really likes to do is to be a great community partner. So there's a lot of things that we're going to continue to work with the village and the surrounding community on as we move forward. So this is an example of the architecture of kind of the commercial spaces. So you can see there's going to be a lot of storefront windows. There's going to be a lot of emphasis kind of on the architecture because in a scenario like that where the building itself becomes kind of the feature rather than having a big parking lot in front of it, you really are trying to kind of emphasize the architecture. So like large storefront windows, architectural detailing that is a very human scale as you walk along it because, your sidewalk's going to come all the way up to this. So people are going to be, pretty close to it. So we want that to feel really nice. More examples of just commercial sides of building, rear of building, the office spaces. They're all going to have a very similar architectural feel. And then, so here's an example of the townhomes. Now, the townhomes are, what we have in here are 3-story, and there's a good reason for that. So the village's code right now is 2 stories or 35 feet. The townhomes are going to be 3 stories, but we've kept them to a height of 38 feet. So it's still only 3 feet taller than a regular 2-story home. So they're going to fit in very well in the community. Also, they're about 800 feet away from any of the adjacent residents that are already there. So they're really, and since they're kind of encapsulated in the center, They're going to feel very much a part of the development, but probably for most other places, either Walnut Street, you really won't see them that much. But the advantage to doing it this way is, I'll just show you the rear elevation. The advantage to doing it this way for us is we create a much better scenario for the buyer and a much better feel as you drive through the community, because one of the things that we can do with this is, can you slide me one more? There you go. One more. So that's the front. So this is the back. One of the things that we can do with this is when you have a two-story townhome, what you have to do to give people a garage is you just basically have to slap a box on the back of the building. So you've got just a piece of, you've got a 20 by 20 box kind of stuck off the back of the building. That's just the garage. It doesn't really relate to the architecture, and it kind of screws up the back of the building. Doing it this way, we can tuck the garages underneath the building, so they don't stick out of the back of the building. They don't look ugly like you would normally see. And, they can create kind of porches off of the back of that along the second story decks, so you can actually come out and enjoy that space. Your car is going to be underneath. Another thing that helps them do in the architecture and really for the livability of the townhome is it allows them to create an additional space behind the garage that becomes almost like a basement or a utility area for the buyer. So these are going to be individually owned. They're not going to be rented. So the downstairs space really becomes kind of an entryway, kind of utility area, and then you walk upstairs, and then the two floors are basically your living area. The mid-level floor is kind of dedicated to the living room, kitchen, bathrooms, and then the upper story is the bedroom. So you can kind of separate out the living space. And this style of townhomes is very popular among buyers. It carries a pretty good premium price. These are going to be actually pretty expensive townhomes because, again, we're talking about natural materials, developing kind of a new architectural footprint for this development. Can you advance me one more, Matt? So I'm going to have just Matt kind of scroll through this a little bit, but this is kind of an example of the single-family home, the architecture that we're talking about. So when you get into the single-family homes, one of the things that we focus very heavy on is creating opportunities for front porches, making sure that we have front porches in the development where people can sit, kind of interact with their neighbors. We've tried to kind of recess the garage from that front porch, again, creating more decorative garages, more changes in material and roof lines. Each one of these homes that you see also will have, they'll have multiple elevation possibilities for all of these homes. So it's not going to feel like a cookie cutter community because even if you get the same footprint as somebody down the street as you, they can make the front of the house look entirely different. So everybody's going to be able to kind of choose their elevation. And then we're going to have standards, hold it right there if you would, Matt. We're going to have standards that basically dictate throughout the development that you can't have the same house with the same elevation across the street or on either side of the house across the street or on either house beside you. So you have to have that variety. So when you drive through the neighborhood, it won't feel like kind of a cookie cutter development. So here's an example of the patio homes. Try to create, again, the same level of detailing, the same thing. All of the patio homes have a front porch, with a patio home, sometimes can be kind of challenging because patio homes are one-story buildings. They're for people who don't want to deal with stairs anymore. So all of your living area is really on the first floor. You've got a nice master bedroom. You have a guest bedroom. If you're buying there, chances are your kids have moved out of the house. You're kind of like me. You're an empty nester. Now you're deciding, okay, do I need a 3,000 square foot home to live in, or can I buy a really nice 1,900 square foot home that I don't have to walk up and down the stairs anymore? And somebody mows my yard, somebody plows my driveway, and I can pick up and leave anytime I want. All I got to do is just make sure my mail goes somewhere else. So that's what the patio home really is all about. But everyone, again, will have a front porch. They're going to have a rear living space as well. So the yards are considerably smaller on a patio home because they don't have kids. They don't have people who are going to be playing in the backyard. Really, they focus more of their money and time and energy on the interior of the house. Because if you're older like me and you have friends, you want to bring them over, you want the interior house to look really nice. So they spend money on upgrading the finishes on the interior of the house. And the yard space, they just don't need that much because they don't want to maintain it anymore either. So keep going if you would. So this is just kind of a street level view of the patio home area and ultimately what the patio homes look like in landscaping. And a street level view kind of the single family homes. Keep going. And this is a view, if you imagine yourself kind of standing in that central park that we're designing as part of the property. This is a view looking kind of towards the townhomes. And again, we're really focused on making sure that the fronts of those buildings face that green space so that you don't feel like you're staring into somebody's garage or their private space. You're really looking at everybody's front door, when you're in that space. Another view kind of the commercial. This is kind of driving around the loop. Same thing. And Matt, probably now's a good time to just go to that video. We did a kind of a little 3D video, a drive-through of the community, just to give everybody a little bit of flavor. What that looks like, I want to share that with you. I've spent enough time talking. I know Larry has a few things to say as well about the traffic. I think that's a really important element. We've heard a lot about that. But I don't know, Matt, if you can get that kind of up on the screen. So this video will start out as if you're driving a car, as if you're coming from the village along Walnut Street and then entering into the development. And then as you drive around the loop, so it will give you an idea of what you're going to see kind of driving through the development. Those open. Can you enlarge that a little bit? There we go. I don't know would you just mind rewinding it a little bit just so people can get the feel coming in? There we go. Thank you, sir. Awesome. So this would be coming down Walnut. We didn't 3D model all of Walnut, so I apologize. We just focused on what was in the development. This is kind of the entry features coming in. On the right-hand side, you're going to have the pond. Right about now, you're crossing under the power lines. But you can see, again, tree-lined streets, parking along the street on one side, dedicated parking spots, not, like a typical residential street. We're going to have dedicated parallel parking spots. Turning left, so you just kind of came into the green there. Now we're turning left, and you're driving past the commercial area on the left. These are going to be stores, shops, restaurants, boutiques, different kinds of things. That's what we're really hoping for. I'm going then into kind of the townhome section. And again, the townhomes are all going to face the street with parking on the street. The front doors and the front porches of these townhomes are going to be right there to create, again, more of a very village feel. We're trying to make it less suburban in appearance. And then the single family houses, as you come around kind of that looped street, and then kind of working your way around that loop until you get to the patio section. And that's, I think that's where the video is going to end for us. So we wanted to pull this together because we just wanted to give people kind of a lot of people are more visually oriented, and it's hard to look at a plan and kind of envision for yourself what the community is going to look like. So we wanted to try and create a better picture of what our expectations are in terms of what the community is going to look like and what the community is going to feel like. I think we had a lot of great feedback and conversation at the Planning Commission meeting. We learned a lot from the residents kind of through that process. I think generally what we heard from folks is, yes, we don't want this to be a planned commercial development. We like what you're doing. We like what Romanelli and Hughes is doing. So we're hoping to kind of carry on that conversation. We're here to answer questions. So before I turn it back over to the council, I'm just going to let Larry hop up, and because there were some conversations or questions about traffic, and I want to make sure that Larry has the opportunity to address that.
Hey, just 1 second, too. I want to jump in here. Sorry, I just have to say this real quick before you get into that. That way you maybe know how to address concerns. I live on Walnut. I live right here at 138 North Walnut. I've been dealing with car traffic and issues since the day we lived here. If you look at our zoning speeding reports that we get every month, 50, 60 miles an hour up and down our road. So when you go to tell me there's going to be, that many units, plus commercial people who don't live here as well, coming up and down our roads, there's almost nothing you can do to tell me that it's going to be okay, because we haven't fixed our traffic issues without that being here.
Yeah, I'll address that. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's traffic up and down that street. I think, number one, we've got a traffic report. The traffic report is going to recommend improvements we're committed to making whatever improvements that requires. I think one of the things that you got to keep in mind is right now this is zone plan commercial. As a planned commercial development, that's going to generate a tremendous amount more traffic than this will develop for a residential development. So while you're correct, there's definitely traffic issues. We can't resolve that. We do think we have kind of a better option in terms of everything. It's going to be less traffic. It's going to be, less intensity for the folks that live there. I mean, a commercial development is going to attract traffic from all over to kind of come into the community. So, trying to keep a little bit of this local for the people that live there, for the smaller piece of commercial that's going to be in there. We do think that that's going to help. It may not be perfect, but we do think it's better than the alternative potentially.
Sorry, since you got me on the trigger already, I'm on the clock.
Well, Gary, real quick, I just want to ask, because you brought up planned mixed use versus commercial.
Yeah.
But you didn't give residential as another alternative. I mean, if these were 2 or 3 acre lots or 1 house per acre lots, that wouldn't have a big impact on traffic, like either one of a Piedmont or a.
But nobody's going to pay Mr. Grosinger a planned commercial price to do 1 acre lots. It's not feasible. You'd have to sell the houses for $2 million. That's just the reality of where we are. The reality is we can either do a planned commercial development like it's zoned and just submit development plans and kind of go through that process and not rezone it, or we can try to do something that's a little bit better that will still create enough value to buy the property at what it's offered for.
Does Romanelli build $2 million like custom homes?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
But they're not going to do it here.
Why is that?
Yeah. Why is that?
Yeah.
It's not the right site for it. It's right up against Route 3. You could find sites that are much more viable for a $2 million house where you can maybe create, 5 acres that have a lot of woods on it. Nobody's going to pay $2 million for a house right next to Route 3.
How much are the townhomes?
It's just not going to happen. Yeah, probably in the high 4s. The single family is going to be in the 7s. The patio homes in the 6s.
Okay.
Sorry, just so I give you more info to fire when you're up there. When you go from, and our zoning code is 25% for this multifamily, right? And this is saying jumping, the divergence is up to 36% now, right? For the density. And if you wanted to read it here, it just says, limiting the townhomes, multifamily housing to 25% of the total dwelling units. Now, divergence says allows the percentage to exceed 25, but not to exceed 36. So you're going to possibly go up to 36%. So I'm just trying to tell you, when you're up here, if you're going to talk about traffic, like, I don't know what, zoning came up with that number. I don't know where that, I wish more zoning people were here to actually talk this evening, but I think there's some of them are missing. If you could just address those for me, please.
What? I can address the townhome piece of it. Yeah, I can address the townhome piece. I'll let Larry address the traffic up. For us, it's about finding kind of the right balance. Whether it's 25%, 36%, 36%, we need, because again, they're paying commercial value for the property. They need some density to make it work. And what we've really tried to do is try to center that in the development up against Route 3, where, people will still pay that price for a townhome because it's a townhome. So that's kind of how we put that together. We needed to get it to a certain number of units. We are asking for a divergence to go from 25% to 36%. In the grand scheme of things, it's like 8 more units. So it's not a huge difference, but it fills out those spaces and it makes the whole thing work. Go ahead. Just kidding.
Well, I was going to thank you for having me in, but now I'm not sure that I want to do that. For the record, my name's Larry Creed. I'm with EMH&T. We're at 5500 New Albany Road in Columbus. Romanelli and Hughes has engaged us to do a traffic study for the project. And the traffic study is in process. So I want to be clear that we're working with the jurisdictions involved and stepping through the process, where I don't have a slideshow tonight and we don't have recommendations at this point. But Jim did tell me that the traffic has been a topic of conversation in the previous meeting, so I appreciate the opportunity to come here and sort of provide an update on what we're doing, where we're doing it, how sort of the process works, and how we're going to work through some of these issues. So that's kind of my goal tonight. So one interesting thing about this site that I think everybody probably knows is the jurisdictions involved. There's multiple jurisdictions here, and that always makes the traffic a little more complicated because everybody has different goals and different rules, so we have to bring everybody together and talk about that. We're looking at a number of intersections on State Route 3, which is ODOT jurisdiction, so they're going to call the shot on what happens on State Route 3. And so our study is largely going to follow ODOT procedures for that reason. Most of our analysis points are in ODOT jurisdiction. And then obviously we have the village of Galena that we've been working with your team on the traffic study. Delaware County's been plugged into some of the meetings. I don't think they see themselves in a large role here, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the village is kind of consulting with them a little bit on things. So we have 3 different jurisdictions we're dealing with. So the first thing we do in any study is we bring all those people together and we talk about what the scope of our study needs to be. What all are we looking at? And so, I don't want to leave anything out here. So for this study, we have 4 intersections in the State Route 3 corridor. The one, Sunbury Meadows Drive, is actually a Sunbury jurisdiction, so they're plugged into some of our conversations as well. They don't really have any jurisdiction over what happens here, but they're right next door, and everybody wanted to include them in the process, get their review of our work, and hear their feedback. So they're part of the process as well. And then obviously we're looking at State Route 3 in Walnut, and then on down at Dustin and Plum. So we have 4 intersections in the State Route 3 corridor. Through the conversations with everybody, we added Old 3C and Arrowhead Drive. And obviously we have our site access point on Walnut. So it's a pretty good sized study area. That's a lot of intersections to look at.
Can I just ask one question quick? Does the study include the forecasted traffic that's going to be generated by Miller Farm?
It does.
It does, okay.
Yep. And I'll talk about the traffic forecast here in a little bit, if you don't mind. I'll come back to that. So to get back to the jurisdiction, so we meet with everybody, we talk about the scope of what they want to see, we identify that study area. For ODOT, they have some requirements that define sort of some of the details of the study, so we need to know for our trip generation, what's the magnitude of trips that we're generating to see where we fit into ODOT's regs, and we've done that. And so as a result of that, we publish an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. It's just a letter. It's basically the scoping document for the study that outlines what we've all agreed to do, so that we're all on the same page with that. We've made a couple of submissions of that, had gotten some good questions back from the village as well as from ODOT that we've addressed, and we'll probably this week we'll submit the final MOU to all the agencies, and I think we've addressed everything, so I think we're to a point where we will have sort of an approved scope for our study. We've worked ahead to some degree to go out and do data collection. We've done traffic counts at all the intersections I talked about. And we've actually done a lot of calculations like I described to kind of inform ODOT on where we fit into their regulations. We've done some of the traffic forecasting already. And so on that topic, I want to build on some of the things that Gary talked about. This is a mixed-use development, and I think just from my perspective, that's a big bonus for traffic compared to a straight zoning for office, commercial, retail, those kinds of things. And if you just think about it, mixed use, there's a mixture of office and retail, different kinds of residential. So, and for one thing, the peaks are different. So the residential people leave in the morning, they come home in the afternoon. The office people do the opposite. The retail a lot of times isn't open in the morning, and their peaks are a little different in the afternoon. So it's great to have that multi-use development just to sort of move the traffic around throughout the day and not have those concentrated peaks that you would have with a larger office development or a larger commercial development. So I think that's a big plus for the mixed-use plan that you have in front of you.
Sorry, just to stop you right there, because I live on Walnut. And at 6 o'clock p.m., when I go out for a walk, it's quiet, it's dead. So you're saying, so now after my 5 or 6 p.m. walk, there's going to be traffic, right? So I'm not saying,
yeah.
I just mark that as a negative, not a positive.
Okay. The other thing that's great about mixed use is there'll be some shared trips. This isn't a huge site, but think about, if there's a fitness center in the commercial portion, the people that live there will probably use the fitness center. So some of the normal trip generation that you have for the different uses becomes sort of an internal capture that doesn't get out onto the main street. So that's not a get out of jail free card, but it's helpful. It's a great thing about mixed use that it captures some of that trip making just internally by its nature, and people can go where they need to go without ending up on the existing street system. So it's a fairly complicated calculation. So the way we determine that is, and everybody does it the same way. So EMH&T is no different than any other consultant or ODOT or agency for that matter. The Institute of Transportation Engineers publishes a trip generation manual. A new one just came out. It's four volumes, I think. There's a lot of material in it. And they collect basically traffic counts from people like me that go out and count shopping centers or neighborhoods or patio home developments, all different land uses. They collect that data, they do the statistical operations on it, they publish it, and so then people like me can calculate based on a number of homes or square footage of commercial development or square footage of office, whatever it is. We can do those calculations and determine the number of trips that are going to be generated by proposed development. And there's calculations you can do to understand that internal capture. Commercial has a pass-by component, so some people already on 3 or already on Walnut might want to stop in and do something at the site on their way home. So they're not really a new trip to the road. They're sort of a pass-by trip that comes in and goes back out. So there's a lot of different types of trips there. There's a lot of calculations we do to understand all of that. And there's a lot of evidence-based practice that goes into that.
How many total trips per day are we talking with this new development?
I don't honestly think in terms of daily numbers. Everything we analyze is peak hour. So when we do our analysis, we'll analyze PM peak and AM peak.
Is it right in here? It says 5,566. Is that correct? For a daily?
I don't recall, but I do recall the
It's
peak
the last
hours.
page, yeah.
Did you have the page there? for
Yeah,
what we
it's
submitted?
section, exhibit 12. Yeah, sorry. 12. Exhibit 12, page 6, very small font. Sorry, it's hard to read. New vehicle trips, 5566. I just want to make sure that's the correct number.
I saw you flip past a table that had a little blue ink on the bottom. Yeah. Does that have a total? I'm sorry, I knew when I got here. I meant to print that out and I didn't.
So, yeah, that looks like entering and exiting is about right. 55,
Not the same, okay.
5566.
Yeah.
And then,
And the peak hours should be around 200 in, 200 out,
right.
more or less.
And then Miller Farm would also then add, what, I've done some research on this, but I'm no traffic expert. They say between 9 and 10 trips per a single-family household.
Per single family, yep.
So, you know,
Yep.
do that times the 350 homes that we have, so that's about another 3,500 trips
Yeah.
per day.
Yeah, and Miller Farms did a traffic study, so we
Right.
have their study and we know how
Right.
many trips they,
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 9,000 trips a day
yeah.
coming
Yeah.
up and down.
And they distributed those around to the street system, so a certain portion of those are headed our way.
Right. Some will
Right.
come down Walnut, some will come into, you know, Heathermere and Zor Street. And,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So our study will account for those as we call it background traffic. And then layer our own trips on top of that. And that's a good segue into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is sort of that layering of traffic and what we're trying to get at with the answer. So, you know, our job, sort of the legal requirement that Romanelli and Hughes has to fulfill is to mitigate their impact, right? So it's frankly not their job to mitigate Miller Farms' impact. Hopefully they're committed to do that as part of the process that they went through. State Route 3 is, traffic volumes continue to grow, and they're going to continue to grow into the future. That'll be part of our forecast that we do to assess that. I haven't gotten to the point of doing the analysis yet, but if I'm a betting man, I'm going to bet that there's probably some improvements that need to happen in the State Route 3 corridor just to handle future growth that's not ours, right? And so we identify that as part of our study. And then we layer our trips on top of everything else, analyze everything again, see what the differences are, what do we need to do to mitigate our traffic. And a lot of times it's a puzzle. There's a lot of pieces that cause various problems, and we just have to work with the jurisdictions to sort that out and find solutions that can be implemented in the near term. And then sort of deal with the other growth as it layers on. Yeah, that's a big part of our traffic study. So I covered the trip gen for the site, very detailed calculations specific to the site, the background growth, you know, just through traffic on 33, Walnut, just everything going on around us, Miller Farm, taking that into account, sort of building up those layers of the traffic forecast. And then we do our analysis. The main part of that is capacity analysis. which is a software we use, and we'll take the signalized intersections on Route 3. We have the signal timing from various maintaining agencies. We plug that in an analysis model, the highway capacity software. And we plug that in and we analyze all those layers of traffic volumes that I talked about. And maybe in the background condition near term, maybe it's okay. It's a level of service D or C, which is typically okay in an urban area. As we add more traffic over the years, just from regional growth, it starts to get worse, and maybe we need to mitigate that, do an improvement to bring it back up to an acceptable level. Adding the site traffic on will have some degradation, and we'll have to analyze that and find improvements that sort of bring the performance of the intersections back to where they would be without development.
Outside of, the stops and starts at the intersections, what's your opinion on just Walnut Street? There's really no way to widen Walnut. I mean, you'd really upset a lot of homeowners if somebody tried to come in and claim that for public use, including myself and him. But how could you fix it? I mean, there's going to be a lot of cars coming up and down that right now don't, with both developments happening basically at the same time. It's a big concern. I mean, a lot of people have kids. A lot of us, we talk about walkability. I mean, it's hard to walk when you got a lot of cars in and out. People like to cross the street, and safety is a big concern. So what would be your opinion on how you could fix Walnut traffic, seeing as though there's really nowhere to go? You can't widen it.
I think the $64 question for this study is the available space that we have between 3 and the site access. We've already put the site access as far away from the big intersection as we can. So we're going to have to find a way to get those turn movements in and out of our site as well as at the intersection for the long term. And I think that's going to be challenging. We're not there yet to know if it's deficient or how deficient it is or what we can do about it. We're not quite there yet, but to me, that's the central issue of this traffic study. Is how does that work?
Thank you.
Mr. Creed, let me pose a question before I'm sure someone else will if I don't. First of all, let me just thank you and the Romanelli team for being so receptive to all of our suggestions for the traffic study and beefing that up, and including Miller Farm in that analysis. But the entrance and exit from the subdivision on Fescue, okay? Will the study, and I hope if it's not, we need to correct it, but will the study pick up that additional traffic because you're measuring the Sunbury Meadows light right there? Or how do we make sure we pick up that increased anticipated traffic at that location?
Yeah, we will. Jim has already sort of talked to me about the importance of that, and as we do our traffic assignment from our site generates the number of trips we just talked about, and so where do they go? And so we will be sure to trace that through all of the connections that we have so that we're able to talk to everyone about this is what we expect on each of these streets.
And do we have a timeline for when the study will start and have the answers that we're looking for?
Yeah, you're probably looking, to be honest, later in the year by the time we get the MOU signed off. We've already started a lot of the analytical work, but we'll finish that up. Oh, and I forgot, ODOT has asked us to do kind of an extra submission. So normally what we do, we have the MOU meeting, we agree on our scope, we get the MOU signed, then we do the study all the way to the end, and we submit it for agency review, and get the feedback, and work out all the comments that we get. In this case, because we have kind of a complicated traffic forecast, I talked about the internal trips and the pass-bys and Miller Farms and all the different sources that we're trying to account for. ODOT has asked us to submit that volume forecast for approval before we do all the capacity analysis and those kinds of things I talked about. It's not a big deal for us, but it inserts another review time. And ODOT's review time, they quote 60 days. So for sure, we're going to be getting towards the end of the year before we have approved volumes. And then from there, we'll do the analysis and figure out the answers to some of these questions on how to make the road system work. And then that goes to agency review. So I hope, does that answer your question?
Take all the time you need, sir.
Okay.
I did want to address one other thing. I thought Larry brought up a lot of good points. Because I kind of understand where you are, Joshua. I mean, you're on Route 3. Things are going to change.
I'm glad you said it. Thank you. But I also hear from my residents that live across the street from me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been here 10 years. You don't know the battle that we've put signs, slow down. You know, I hear,
Yeah.
I've seen a neighbor chase down a guy down the street in barefoot because he was speeding.
Yeah.
So the neighbor across the street yelling at a truck driver driving too fast. That truck driver stops, pulls back in. She's by herself.
Yeah.
You know, that's just my two neighbors.
Yeah.
So you got to realize this is a bigger. This is a really small community, and we're going to be impacted a lot by Miller Farm and by this Romanelli Hughes development.
For sure.
So, thank you.
I think you're right. We're not claiming that there's not going to be an impact. And I understand where you are, kind of the concerns around that. I'm certainly all the folks that live along Walnut have a concern about that. I think one of the things that's kind of unfair to do, though, is kind of compare what you have now versus what this development is going to bring. We know two things. One, it's no longer going to be operated as a golf course. That's period, end of story. Jim Grosinger's retired. He's moving to Florida. He's selling it. The land right now has a planned commercial zoning. It has a planned commercial zoning. It's 84 acres. If you just do an average of retail, an average retail density is about 10,000 square feet per acre. So that's 840,000 square feet-ish of office and retail development. 800,000 square feet of retail and office development at 5 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet is 4,000 parking spaces and the cars that come in and fill them up. So the site doesn't have to be rezoned. They don't have to go through this process to do a commercial development on that site. They've just got to go through the development plan. They have to fit within the requirements, the permitted uses. We can go through those if you want. You know what they are. Everybody else does. It's basically all kinds of commercial, highway-oriented commercial, hotels. All of those things are permitted or listed in the permitted uses of the planned commercial district. I think that would have a far bigger impact than what we're doing today. And I think so when you kind of compare, we know this site isn't going to be an undeveloped site. So the question is, do we do this? Or do we stick with the original zoning? What is the right answer?
I hear you, but you're not talking to me or my neighbors. That's not going to help us out at all. So, but
Fine, I understand.
But I understand where you're coming from, and I want that success to go along, you know, for us both, two-way
Yeah.
street here. So I'm not opposed to Romanelli building there. I'm really not.
Yeah.
I just want us to do it to where it doesn't have the impact that I'm seeing now currently.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit higher than I was hoping for. You know,
Yeah.
we worked with this on Miller Farms. I don't think a lot of you guys are actually on council yet, and Jeff wasn't mayor yet. We worked with Miller on Miller Farms for a long time. You know, Mike was on zoning at that time, and it was a process. You
Yeah.
know, Kathy was here. Kathy, were you here?
I was here.
Zach was
I've been here longer than,
Zach was here.
I've been here longer than anybody.
Kathy's
but
been here a
they're
long
off.
time. So again,
Yeah.
we worked through that process. So it took us a while, but I'm happy. I'm pretty happy with the way
Yeah.
it's coming out. It's coming out. So for me, I just want us to see if we can get to that exact point where we're like, this is it. This is the right way.
Yeah.
This is done.
I want to speak to that too, because there's a lot of talk in the village about what certain council members believe, what their goals are, and that sort of thing. Goal is to make the development the best as possible
Sure.
for our residents.
Understood.
Who live here now.
Yep.
Also for our future residents.
Yep.
And you keep mentioning commercial versus PMUD. Maybe you could help educate me a little bit, because you did discuss the value of the land.
Yeah.
You know, as somebody who worked very hard on our zoning for a long time, and had to go through some contentious atmospheres to make that happen, in moments, I feel like our zoning, if you know it's going to be a PMUD, the value of the land should be based off of the PMUD, not what is zoned commercial,
Yeah.
because that's not what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So-
We can't dictate what Jim Grosinger is willing to sell it.
Sure,
for.
but you could offer an amount that is conducive to
Yeah.
the zoning that's on the land in the PMUD.
We also know that people have come in, offered him more,
Mm-hmm.
and brought development proposals to the village that weren't well received.
I'm aware, yeah.
And, you know, and I don't disagree with you. Mike, we've been involved in this process for a long time. You know, we've been working with you, we've been working with other council members for well over a year. And we started with a much higher number, and we've kind of continued to come down. We've heard the village. You know, we've made a lot of changes over the years to get to where we are. And we feel like we have a development that we can still make work financially. Because, believe it or not, that is important, right? There's a lot of risk. You know, they're gonna write a check for, I don't know how many millions of dollars for the property. And they've got to be able to make that work. And if they're selling through the development and the market crashes, you know who goes bankrupt? Romanelli and Hughes, not the village, right? So he's got to put together a development that they think can pro forma out and make sense. And so it gets really hard for us to keep pushing the numbers down and down and down and down
Okay,
and
so,
make it work.
and I understand that. Some of my requests, and again, if I was still on zoning this year, I would have made these opinions more public, I guess.
Sure.
Being involved in the same process that we started last year, but
Yeah.
I'm not anymore. So, you know, some of my requests are not so much, hey, can you just take out this? It's more, can we move this? Can we make some of these more of these? Patio homes are already $600,000, like you said, in that price range. Why can't we do more patio homes and less townhomes that are 38 feet high and 3 stories? You know, like because that would seem to be good for you. So, you know, those are a lot of questions that I would like to get to discuss tonight and as we go forward.
Yeah.
It's not about stopping or asking you to take a hit in your bottom line, but for the respect of the code that the residents seem to be happy with, we'd like to let that lead us here instead of what somebody's asking. You know, our
Yeah.
code is the code. You know?
Yeah, and we're not disagreeing with any of that. I mean, I don't expect that everybody is going to share the same opinion that we have. And I do expect that some people are going to like this, some people aren't going to like it, some people don't want to see anything there. I think we understand that. I think if you put 10 people in a room, you won't get 10 people to agree on anything. I think we've kind of put together the best possible development we can. And I think we're asking for people to just consider, are we better off letting this thing just develop as a plain commercial, or are we better off kind of moving forward with what we have? Because I do think what we've put together is really attractive. I think it's really nice. I think the townhomes are a critical component of it. Number one, to support the success of the commercial, because we need residents in the development to also be able to go to commercial, not just people in the village to be able to go there. It's important in terms of getting the density numbers to where they need to be to make the entire thing work financially, especially with a lot of the amenities that are getting put into the development and some of the development costs that are associated with it. So is it perfect in your eyes or in everybody's eyes? It probably isn't. Are there some things we can change? We can certainly talk about that. But I don't think we're going to be at a point where we can make a big shift from patio homes, from townhomes to patio homes. And at the end of the day, I think everybody's going to have to kind of vote their conscience and just decide whether, you know, this is more appropriate than potentially something else.
I guess the way I like to look at it is that, I mean, like with the side yard setbacks,
Yeah,
I mean, you're asking for 100% divergence across the entire development.
yeah, no question.
Us giving that to you gives you the opportunity to make millions on these homes in various forms and sizes and shapes. And that's not a small thing. That's not,
I wouldn't call it millions, but
okay,
Yeah,
well,
I mean-
lots more houses, lots more housing units
It's-
than
it's
if they were at 25 feet.
maybe 10% more.
25 feet, though, is a lot different
Yeah.
from 16 and 12.
No question.
So, it's, when we discuss this, it's in that light that it's a divergence. It's one line item on this sheet, but
Yeah.
when you think about the impact over the entire development and setting a precedent for our code going forward.
Yeah.
For the, because I know there's some people that I disagree with that want to grow past the village borders and, so use our zoning code. A developer's going to come through and go, you gave them 100% on the side yard setbacks.
And I think,
You
I think every PUD has to be examined differently. You mentioned Miller Farms, for example. Miller Farms was developed on the backside of the village in a cornfield.
Yeah.
We are up against Route 3, a state highway, commercial corridor. To me, in the planning world, those have always mean two very different things, right? Two very different things are appropriate on those different sites. It would not be appropriate at all to take this development and put it where Miller Farms is. It would never survive.
Sure.
The type of project that Miller Farms is, in large part because of where it is. The type of project that this is also in large part of where it is. It's up against the highway. You would never put really low-density housing up against the highway like that. We are trying to develop something here that we think can take the place of, potentially a planned commercial development that can do it very attractively and aesthetically. And certainly, we do require some divergences for that. We had a lot of these discussions at Planning Commission. Planning Commission gave it a 6-1 vote. Also, people who are, in charge of stewarding your zoning code and your planning documents, they seem to be very supportive of it. So, we're hoping that, we can kind of get the same consideration from the council. If ultimately we can't get there, we understand that.
I would like to speak for a minute, please.
Go ahead, because I'm going quick. Hurry up.
Okay, so what I'm getting out of this is overall, he's saying Jim Grossinger is selling his property at the highest and best use, which is, in this case, the planned commercial would be worth more per square foot or acre or square acre, whatever the interval would be, than basically any other district that we've got at this moment, which is what they're currently buying from Jim Grossinger at a planned commercial price. So he's saying then, he understands that you don't want the high traffic impact, but he's then saying a purely residential district, it just doesn't cut it in terms of the profit versus loss margins. It's just not feasible.
Well, wait,
And-
hold on. That's not entirely true. At the development stage, we spoke with other developers who could have made it work. So that's not entirely true.
Okay, and then he's saying that planned commercial, if it stays as planned commercial, will have a substantially heavier impact. So just think about how much traffic the Tanger Outlet Mall and then the Polaris Mall makes. Think about basically having one of those on Route 3 coming exclusively in and out of Walnut, because we're not going to get a Route 3 access for that. The odds are just super low. So just imagine all of that traffic pouring into Arrowhead Lake Estates and Walnut Street.
I don't even think that lane can handle a Tanger outlets, but I understand you're trying to make it.
But if that's what would be put in, if you got 800,000 square feet of possible commercial, that's something like that's going to go in. And so he's saying he's doing something in the middle, which is the PMUD, which is the hybrid between the residential and commercial, as well as it's an easing between the current subdivision that it borders and then goes into Route 3, which our zoning code states we should be allowing higher density near and along Route 3, which this also follows.
Does that statement in the zoning code override the actual zoning requirements in a PMUD?
But it should affect our decisions going forward. And so he's trying to say, he's worked with us, because I've watched him go through the zoning process. He's here now. And it's going to impact traffic. It's going to affect the future of the village. Everything will. Same with Miller Farms. It's just going to happen.
I understand that other folks have come in, and you said other builders were interested. They said they could make it work.
I want to say that in respect to you. You guys are here, so,
Yeah.
you know,
But I think it's an important point. I mean, because we
you.
talked about this earlier. I mean, we sat in Romanelli and Hughes' office with you, and you said none of those things lived up to your expectations.
That's
That was
mischaracterization of where
It
I was
might, it
at
might
the
be.
time.
Maybe it's a mischaracterization. But
Yeah.
from what I've told, none of the other proposals put in front of the village at this point were anything that the village was excited about. Apartments, those kind of things. And
Well,
and we
none of those had apartments, by the way. None of the other three proposals. But
I'm not sure
my
what
point
they
is,
were.
before you go on, I liked the fact that this was more planned, because some of
Yeah.
the other ones were going to do it with the retail not planned, and that was the main reason. It wasn't
Okay.
because it was better than single-family homes. I mean,
Yeah.
not even close. So,
That's fair.
yeah.
That's fair. And, I think we're not, hopefully, I'm not coming off as I'm trying to debate. I'm trying to make some strong points as to why we did what we did. We understand if everybody can't support it. We're hoping that, most of you will. We think that we've put together a very good development. We've come down a lot from where we were. I mean, if you remember the original proposals, we did have some apartments in there. We had some other things in there.
Well, not the first original one, but in the middle, you wanted to add them back in. But yeah.
Yeah, we did. I
Uh-huh.
mean, we changed. We went through kind of a long planning and research process and market, evaluation and all of those things, the normal evolution of any project. And we've continued to work with the village. We've reduced the numbers, and I think we've reduced them down to now where, we're kind of at the point where, to us, we can't really go much lower.
Well, I guess my issue with that is, respectfully, is that, you see a lot of articles written around town about developments like this, and any development, in any community. And when it gets to this stage, when it gets before council, this is what the residents are told, that your voice is going to be heard. Like a lot of people, I would hope, if they want, are going to ask questions.
Mhm.
And what you're saying is that it's already decided at this point, and that we can't really budge here.
No,
or
I'm not.
there.
I'm not saying it's already decided. What I'm saying is we've already had a lot of those conversations. The residents have all spoke up during the planning commission meetings. We've already incorporated a number of changes in the development. So we're certainly open to more questions and more thoughts, and we'll certainly take those back and consider them. What I'm saying is it's going to be very difficult for us to make dramatic changes in the density at this point. I'm not saying it's already decided. What I'm saying is, we're pretty close to where we need to be in terms of the density and the type of product, and we think it's well designed. If there are other things that come up in terms of the concerns, again, we're working on the traffic issue. We're going to do everything that the traffic study requires us to do. I know in a lot of people's eyes it won't be enough. There's already a traffic issue there. But we're going to do everything that we can to mitigate the impacts of the development. Let's carry on the conversation.
Okay.
And
There's other items too. I mean, like, I would love to talk about the elevations. I mean, those are, this is.
lay it all out there. I mean, we're here to take notes.
Right,
We're
right.
here to
Okay,
listen
well,
and take
let's
notes.
move on to that to keep the evening moving forward.
Yeah.
We're known for our brick factory, Galena Brick Trail.
Mhm.
The square it's brick, the vault. This, in all due respect, looks kind of like the corner of Sawmill and Powell Road, that giant eagle over there, Stone Ridge Plaza in Gahanna, several places, office parks over in Reynoldsburg. The stone to me, with a lot of the elevations, it just doesn't seem to match because this is our one shot, in my opinion, for what's inside the village borders. This is our entry into the village. Everybody's going to, when they think of Galena in 10 years, they're going to go, that's the development I think about. And I just don't feel that the aesthetics of the development really match what our square is at all, really, honestly. So
Okay.
I'm wondering if that could even be something that is considered as we go forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something that's open to consideration. The architecture, they've been working on the architecture for a little while. This would be certainly a decision that would be up to Vince, obviously. I mean, I can't make that commitment for him. But I think if he hears that, you know, the council generally isn't appreciative of the architecture, you know, Vince is generally pretty accommodating, you know, on a lot of those things. I mean,
What about
he-
the retail though as well?
yeah, I understand. The retail, the homes, whatever it is, you know, I think those are things that, you know, we can all kind of take back to Vince and say, Vince, you know, they'd like a little bit different aesthetic here. What do you think? Because the architecture piece is very important to him as well. You know, it's his stamp, it's his signature. So, you know, he's got architects that have worked to develop this, and he can direct them to, you know, update the elevations.
I mean, my other, and again, I don't want to go back too far. My big ask, I guess, is I would really like to flatten those townhomes and make them patio homes. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing for me. And if I had been involved in zoning earlier this year, if I wasn't voted off, yeah, that's something I was definitely on my list to cross off. So early on, we were starting, like you said, this is a process.
Yeah.
So we take part in that process as well. And
Sure,
when we
absolutely.
would have got to that point, that's what I would have asked for.
yeah,
Is, you know, the patio homes, because I think it has less impact on traffic. It's going to be more seniors, so you're going to have less outside visits, less impact on the schools.
yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of things there that I think that I'd like to meet out if if Vince is open to some of that discussion, I would love to have it.
Yeah, and you know, again, I'd like to hear from the rest of the board, kind of their opinions on this. You know, from our standpoint, the big challenge for us is how do we make sure that that retail stays as active as possible? And so who is going to have the, you know, who is going to have the opportunity or be more likely to use that space? You know, is it going to be kind of the older folks? Is it going to be the younger folks? How many houses are there to support that? Those all go into the considerations because the commercial has to be successful too.
I understand that.
Yeah, no,
guess-
I do. I know. I'm just kind of laying out some
Right.
of
I
some of
just
the
felt like when
reasons that we
when we
ended up
found
there.
out that there weren't going to be the rentals, I was ecstatic about that.
Yeah,
But I also didn't think that we would have townhomes that, in my opinion, look like apartment buildings.
Yeah.
They just do. Well, those renderings look like apartment buildings to me.
yeah, and I appreciate that.
So I think it would be great to hear, we have some people that signed up to speak and ask questions.
Oh, yeah, sure,
From,
sure.
for the residents, I think 7:30, we'll let that happen.
Yeah. You want me to stay here?
Yeah, if we have Gary sit over here, that'd be great. And if folks would like to come forward, residents first, and please state your name and address so we have it for the record. Michelle, you want to come up?
I'm challenged. Okay, my name's Michelle Parsons. I live at 1115 Middle Street, Galena, Ohio. And I'm on zoning. I work with these people. And I know we're talking about the height of 3 feet for the townhomes. This is 3 feet, okay? And I'm not demeaning anything. I know the law. I know our zoning code. So it's about the height, a little over that table, just so we have a visual. That's one thing. Number two, we're talking about, and there's a lot of discussion going on here. This is going to happen, whether it's going to be Romanelli Hughes or someone else. This development is going to happen. And Pal's gone through this. I remember where there was a little bump. And as far as Walnut Street, I live close to it too. It's horrible, okay? But the same thing happened to Westerville. And if you look at Westerville, we have 4 lanes going into Westerville coming from, you know, the 270 or whatever, and we have it coming from Polaris. And it goes down to 2 lanes. So our 2 lanes are really from where the development's going to start for them and where the village ends. Somehow we have to find those, and it is going to have to be increased somewhat, okay? Off-street parking is going to have to go away probably, and we need sidewalks. That's going to happen. But how do we stop people, as they do in Westerville, to allow people to cross the road and slow down? I didn't really have this in my presentation that I was going to talk about, but I mean, think about the visual. They did it in Westerville. We can do it here. Possibly where Romanelli Hughes was going to put the sidewalk coming down, as they've been very kind to do. Maybe they put that big, huge speed bump for us. Possibly. I know it costs. I understand the building costs. I have rentals. And maybe they implement that for us to possibly stop people from going as fast as they should. Because it really is dangerous. I totally agree with you. Josh, I know where you live, I know where you live, I totally agree with you. But this is going to happen regardless. So
Is
visual.
that a statement or a question?
Yeah. I don't know. I've lived here 25 years, and I only see things changing. How do I diminish that impact? And it's by putting in problem-solving direct things to stop it.
Right. Well, my question is because you came prepared to show with your ruler to,
I did.
I guess, to show that it wasn't that much of a big difference. But you're talking about at the maximum level.
No,
and then
and-
adding 3 feet to that.
No, I was just giving a
So,
visual.
I know. Well, I don't know why. I mean, we all know what 3 feet are. 3 feet is.
Well,
But-
I'm almost.
So my question is also, if you know this concern, why are you really vote? I'm
Why'd
really
I
being,
vote for
I'm
it?
really being honest. Yes.
Why'd I vote for it?
I really been wanting.
I can
to,
give you that answer. I will give you answers to everything.
But you said no, we can't stop it. So I'm guessing is that
No, I
kind
didn't say
of-
it. No, you can do whatever you choose.
Is that
I'm just
kind of-
saying, when I made my decision, when I voted for this,
Yeah.
the footprint for a patio home, what is a footprint for a patio home? What is the footprint for one condo? Okay, because I own rental property and I also have cost effectiveness, I have to put things in, redo things. Their cost is less for a condo than it is for a patio home. And that's one thing.
But you're worried about their costs or the residents?
No, I'm worried.
I'm
No,
confused.
I'm worried about everybody. I want them to put money.
But
maybe,
residents are here now. They're not. Like that doesn't.
I understand that, Josh.
I'm here as a council person because I have to talk to my neighbors and I have to
And I did-
speak to them. I have
and
to
I
address
did-
these concerns, and I try to do that on a daily basis, whether I'm going across the street
But
or
John-
walking
okay,
down
John-
the
okay,
street.
Josh,
So
let's ask
those
you-
are concerns that I have
What
that
are
are
your-
just realistic. But when you
what's your
show
s-
up and you show a 3-inch ruler and you make
What
a
is your
deal out of
what
that,
is your solution for the problem?
well, to go back to our code, it's simple.
Well, no,
Go
okay, that's
back
okay.
to
That's
our
no, I'm
code.
not talking about that.
That's
anymore.
it.
What
That's
is
all
your
I'm asking.
Josh? What is your
That's
solution
it.
for the traffic pattern and going down Walnut?
We can't do everything, but if you go back to our code, we can only do what we can to minimize those impacts. That's all we can do. But if you go vote yes and just put all these divergences in there and give them whatever they want,
I'm only
then
talking-
we're not really looking out for also our residents.
Totally understand. I'm only
Let's
talking-
please
I'm
call to
only-
order. Michelle's allowed to have her speech or talk, please. Let's give her the time to do that. Thank you.
So anyway, possibly with the street, we could put a big speed bump in like we're going to be doing in front of the coffee place. And maybe Romanelli Hughes will help us that right after the stairway, after the sidewalk is. And that might help us. But again, visualize Worcesterville. I wasn't going to talk about this, but they've done it, so we can do it. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. How did they do it? We can do it. I want things safe. I've seen things on Walnut Street that scare the heck out of me. I know. I've complained. I've called the police. But I've worked with Romanelli Hughes. I know. I've seen their buildings. I've looked at their. I drove around the city today. I drove around Columbus. That's what I did today, because I really wanted to address. I've had people address the height issue. I've had them address the look of the condos. Condos were the specific thing. And I have to tell you, their quality of work is excellent, and they've worked really well with us, okay? And I came up, and I've talked to a few people. I did talk to Mike, and I talked to a lot of other people, and Karen, and a few, and we talked about it. But we are the brick factory. That's what Galena is. It was founded on bricks. That's what we built here. That's what Galena's built on. And so I drove around today, and took my time to do that. And I found that I drove to the mall up here. I drove Delaware County. I drove all the way into New Albany and other places. There is not one brick condo or brick building in Delaware at this point, Berkshire or any place else. And so I do believe that we can come to a agreement, or if you want to go for it. But I do believe that as Galena representing themselves as a community, we are the brick people. That's what we were founded on. I do believe brick buildings, just the front, and that nice siding on the back, maybe 6 to 8 inches is probably too expensive, but we could go above the 4.3 inches, which I think is, But we want a larger siding. We want to see Route 3 and go, wow, that is Galena. That's who they are. We want a signage. I understand the problems. I live them too. But I really hope everyone thinks about what could happen here. I don't want an industrial park. I don't want that at all. And I just want to slow down the traffic. Route 3 is going to be 4. It's going to be Sawmill. Route 3 in the next 15 years will be Sawmill. You can't get away from it. It's going to happen because that's just how evolution is. I don't like it. I don't want it. I moved here because I love the village. But if we can keep the village in our area as quaint, and I know he hates the word quaint, but as village feeling as we can, that's what I think a lot of the village people want. They want to maintain that. Don't say quaint, no.
Who doesn't like the word quaint?
They just hate the
I'm
word
one
quaint.
of those people. I'll own up to it.
So I just think, these guys have to make money. We want to keep the village looking great. We want the best. I want a beacon for you guys. I know Romanelli and Hughes. I know a lot of people have built there in New Albany and every place else. They're a great quality. But I want us to look, I don't want us to see the wooden thing. I don't want these square buildings. I want us to look very classy. And when you see that, that's Galena. And I think that's what we need to work on. And I think I want everyone here to be involved. I mean, if you have concerns, bring them out because that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, Michelle, you've made an excellent point. And
What?
You've made an excellent point, and that is, this is the brick factory.
It's
The
the brick
houses
factory.
right down here where the supervisors that ran the brick factories lived in. So maybe we can talk to Romanelli and see how we can incorporate.
But I think we have to
Brick.
take consideration that the condos have a smaller footprint. And so it's only, also understand, it's only one condo. These aren't condos that go off here and off there into 2 bedrooms here and 2 bedrooms. It's one owner, one condo. So you're not having 10 people or like in one building like they do, and I've seen these type of condos. It's one person or 2 people living there. There are 2 bedrooms, and it's 2 people per condo, usually. You can't put a family in there. It's just not big enough. Okay, Josh. Actually, my daughter lives in one of these, and I was real excited. Yeah, I know what she's talking about. I made that leap, even with gray hair. It was amazing. That's okay, I don't care. You can, it won't hurt me. So anyway, so what happens is these condos in different places, you go up a central stair, and so there'll be 2 bedroom here, 2 bedroom here, and 2 bedroom here, but they look like the same building. These condos are going to be one building, which you walk in, it's in the back, so you have parking spaces for 2, which means under the garage and also one in the driveway. My daughter lives in these. They're lovely. And then you come in, there's a washer and dryer, there's a mud room, and the front door is lovely too. And so then you go up the stairs, there's a living room, kitchen, dining area, half bath, and then you go upstairs and there's 2 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms. And that's the way they're made. And they look really nice because you don't see a garage. So I would love everyone's input. Please stand up and say what you think. But just remember, when you have your house, you want to put the most value in there. When you built it or you bought it or whatever, you want to put a fireplace in, you want to put upgrade siding and everything. That costs them money. That costs you money. And they're trying to build this community and still make a profit. That's why they're here. And I'm not builder positive, okay? But I understand finances. And we could have a heck of a lot worse builder than these people. So please bring your everything up. I'm on zoning. I would love to know what everyone else thinks about this. But I just know if Westerville can have 2 lanes and survive, so can we on Walnut. But we have to be diligent. Possibly you could put some big speed bumps in and maybe slow this traffic down.
They do have police.
Yeah, police. I could be a policeman. They wouldn't listen to me.
We might need you to sign up.
Yeah,
Okay,
Jeff just
well,
needs to
thank
deputize
you.
her.
I'm taking this with me now.
Thank you, Michelle. Any other residents that would like to come forward? Residents? Sir?
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your neighbors. My name is Greg Susko. I'm here with my wife, Michelle. We live at 657 Fescue Road. So we live on the corner of Fescue Road, which is one of the proposed entrances and exits out of the neighborhood that they're wanting to develop. We have a lot of really great neighbors that are here today. We live over in the townhome, kind of the smaller houses. And we have a tight-knit group of people over there. Everybody's great. And so I come with concerns for other people here. On the other side of our street are a bunch of families with little children, and we have people that drive up and down our street really fast and ignore stop signs and things. So we really don't like that much, but we're not from this area either. We're kind of new people that have just gotten introduced to the neighborhood, so we're kind of seeing it from both sides, you know, like we're the people that may be causing the problem, but we're the people that don't want the problem. So just to put things in perspective for you, but I want to get to my questions. I got quite a few of them. I do want to tell you, though, that I think Romanelli and Hughes are really excellent builders. We've gone through their condos. We looked at some of those. We considered buying one. They have like $1 million condos, you know, over on the other side of the old 3C there, I think, and then over by like Powell Road, maybe there's another neighborhood. And they're high quality. It's going to help with property values in the area. They're probably going to generate some taxes for the community with the houses. People are going to be taxpayers living there. Maybe we can get a police force with the tax money. Maybe we can get rid of Rita. I know a lot of us hate Rita. She's a bad girl. We don't like her. My father was a developer. He was a realtor and a developer in Findlay, Ohio. He developed a 365 home development. It was built in 8 phases. I'm a partial beneficiary of that, so I understand what has to happen, all the millions of dollars it costs to put in streets and curbs and sewers and all these things that need to be paid for that people don't even see before they build something. So that's why I understand why they need to make some money, or they're not going to do this. I also kind of resent the idea that this is zoned for commercial, but it's kind of being held over our head like it's a threat or something. I don't think it should be a threat. Can we rezone this right now? Can we zone it to all residential, or can we zone it to residential mixed use and just not have that argument anymore?
Yes.
Okay.
You actually you made my point because I wanted to come in here earlier and say this. Because here on council and in zoning, we've been told for years now, and I want you guys to know this, that if we don't do something, something's going to happen. Or Sunbury is going to take this property and annex it in, which is all false. Not true. Not true. Sunbury is not going to annex that in. And we have people believing that, making decisions based off of that.
Right, because the current owner has threatened that if he doesn't get his way with you guys, he's going to go to Sunbury and they're going to annex
but
it.
there was a 208 plan that was recently.
To be clear, we've never threatened that.
No, not you.
No, yeah.
The owner, the current owner.
Oh, okay.
You're not the owner right now, are you?
Yeah.
Well,
No.
Okay.
There's the 208 plan was just signed by Mike DeWine, our wonderful governor, which basically draws the sewer boundaries for the village, and that falls within ours. So there's really, I don't know if they have the right to even accept it if it were to be annexed in at this point. And if the 208 doesn't do that, I would guess that maybe it doesn't have any teeth. Sure, please.
Please come up to the mic. We're going to want this on record.
I have other things I want to say.
Please, sorry.
Yeah, Mark Ruffiner, village engineer. I just want to clarify what's going on with that 208 plan, because yes, the 208 plan sets boundaries, and those boundaries are somewhat protected. But an annexation automatically changes that boundary to include whatever is annexed into the community it's annexed into. That is what EPA made very clear to the village and other people. So let's say
So it
somebody,
doesn't really provide protections. What was the point of the 208 plan if it doesn't even do that?
it does provide boundaries, but if anytime an annexation occurs, whatever community annexes that property, they automatically have rights to sewer that property.
It would stop the county, wouldn't it?
It stops the county, yes.
Yeah, it's.
But it
it's-
doesn't stop another
It's
entity from
nuanced,
annexation.
right? Because a municipality has certain rights that
Yes.
non-municipalities do not have. So, yeah.
I've understood it, though, that when a municipality and municipality are contiguous, it's different than it is when a municipality goes into a township. It's not?
That is, EPA made that very clear in the 208 conversations. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Can I address your other question just real quickly? I mean, one of the things that you asked is, can this be changed to a residential? It can. There's two ways that can happen. Number one, the property owner could petition to change it. They have the ability. The village could petition to change it. If the village petitions to change it, they're going to be involved in a very protracted legal battle with Jim Grosinger because they're taking something away from him that he currently enjoys the rights to. So I think the best way forward is to get to a point where we have a development that works.
For the seller, the buyer, and the township or the Galena all agreed with each other, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, so that brings me to my next question. I'm just wondering how many crossroads there are on Route 3 from Maxtown Polaris Road to I-270. How many crossroads are there on Route 3?
Route 3,
Route
Yeah.
3 goes down, yeah. It goes.
Yeah, it goes all the way down to, and underneath of it, actually.
I don't think I can give you an answer.
A lot. A lot. So how many do we have? 4? Why can't we have one more into this neighborhood? It would alleviate so much traffic.
ODOT won't allow it.
Oh, well, maybe ODOT should reconsider. And especially based on how many intersections there are in Westerville. Why does Westerville have all of those intersections and we can't have one more?
So I'll weigh in on that one real fast because we actually had a meeting with ODOT about that because we knew that one of the primary concerns of this development was going to be traffic, right? So as the safety chair, the mayor and I went and talked to ODOT about it, and it's actually kind of a fascinating story for State Route 3. State Route 3 was initially supposed to be Interstate 71. It was supposed to be an interstate, long time. We're going back to like the 40s, right? So they were trying to determine what their major north-south arterial was going to be. It was supposed to be State Route 3 because it was already a farming route. They just wanted to widen it. Then there was federal funding that came in. We have Interstate 71. So they bought all of the curb cut rights in like 1940 for pennies on the dollar. And to put it into perspective, so I'll give you an interesting kind of thought process. Why is there only one way into Kroger, right, off of State Route 3? Think about it. And then the UDF would actually do more business if it had a churn off of State Route 3 into there. Those curb cuts, they said the going rate for a curb cut off of ODOT to purchase from, even though they purchased for pennies on the dollars in the 40s, is about $1.5 million for a curb cut. That's it. That's not a lighted intersection. That is purely a right-hand turn and right-hand turn out. You know, the wedges, $1.5 million for that. So I'm sure if Romanelli wants to throw an extra $1.5 million at it, they can have their curb cut. But they're working within the confines they have, and even then there's a petition process for that. And what ODOT is envisioning for State Route 3 is actually trying to limit curb cuts and
sure they
traffic
are.
lights in general, right? Because they don't know what to do. They knew that they kind of got it wrong with the 23 bypass, so ODOT's kind of in an impasse of what they're going to do with that. So that's kind of a long answer.
So if this was commercial, then that would
All
mean
dumped on Walnut.
that they'd go ahead and pay for the curb cut because they were making so much more
Maybe.
money off the land, maybe.
I mean, potentially, but probably not. They'd probably just dump it on a Walnut and it'd be our problem.
That's interesting. I don't think anybody in Galena wants that. Everything dumping onto Walnut. It's going to back up everything for the schools, for the neighborhoods, back through all the other streets. It's going to tear up our roads. I mean, okay, moving on. How can 5,565 vehicles move through 2 entrances into this neighborhood? One's on Walnut, that's kind of close to Route 3, but the other one goes through the middle of a neighborhood. And you want to dump all this traffic through the middle of a neighborhood. So how is that going to work? In the middle of a neighborhood, all of this traffic? That's what I'm wondering. We'll wait, I guess we'll hear it from the traffic study. So that's kind of a moot point at this point. But,
I mean, I don't have exact answers.
let me add something else real quick. I just want to make another comment. I went around and drove around a bunch of different neighborhoods and phases of neighborhoods in the area here. I'd say every one of them has 3 ways in and out. There's only 2 ways in and out of this neighborhood. Now, I proposed that the last time I was here to talk that there is another way in and out on Zor. Under the power lines, there's basically a lot that wasn't built on that's next to that easement, and it's a hill right now, but that's where the path's supposed to go through, but there's enough room for a road to go through there too. So I haven't heard anything about, we were talking earlier about the fact that everything seems to have been decided already. I haven't heard anything about whether, maybe Romanelli and Hughes approached the homeowners association from Galena and Sunbury, our neighborhood, to see if we would sell that little piece of land. We need a pool heater, and we need some improvements to our pool area. Maybe if we sold that little piece of land, it would solve a lot of people's problems. It would give another entrance and exit out of the neighborhood. We could have a pool heater at the pool, alleviate some of the traffic at a couple of different places. So I just want to bring that up again, maybe consider that. The other thing is the traffic study. Is it going to count how many children are in our neighborhood? It should. Okay. Well, there's a lot of little kids in our neighborhood, and with all that extra traffic, it's just going to get dangerous for them.
So the way that the traffic study kind of accounts for children is it incorporates it into the amount of trips per day that people typically take. So for patio homes, for instance, when you got 2 people there, they're retired. They're not going to soccer practice and band practice or choir. But so the way that trip, this is all data. This isn't stuff that we make up. It's all determined and developed by the Institute of Traffic Engineers, who have studied thousands and thousands and thousands of developments and commercial facilities and everything else. And they look at all of that and they determine what is the typical and average background. And they publish that as part of a huge manual. And they update it every year for different development types. And so when you do a traffic study, the Institute of Traffic Engineers manual is the guideline that you have to use to show to the county or to the village or anybody else. And it says this type of house generates this much traffic based statistically, across the nation. And so we have to account for those different product types in the traffic study. And there's always kind of exceptions to the rule, right? But in general, like patio homes generate way less traffic than a typical single-family home. The townhomes would generate less traffic than a typical single-family.
Except they're higher density.
They're a little bit higher density, but when you look at like a townhome, I think an average for a townhome is like, I don't know, Larry, is it like 6 trips a day? And a single-family home's 10 trips a day. So we don't have double the density in the townhomes that we have in the single family. So it's still a little bit less traffic coming out of the townhomes than it is out of the single family, according to the Institute of Traffic Engineers trip generation manual. And that's what Larry's required to use. Larry doesn't have the
He
flexibility.
can't make it up.
Yeah, he can't interject his opinion into the process. It's a pure spreadsheet formula.
Okay. Thank you. Will the villages of Galena make the private streets in our neighborhood, will they annex them and maintain them? Because they're going to have a lot more traffic and a lot of other people that aren't even from our neighborhood.
Yeah, we've been meeting with your HOA consistently to talk about that. And where we're at today is we're going to be putting in private street signs. Because today is not the problem, right? And then we just have to stay on top of it and monitor it at this point. But that's where we're meeting with Bruce and the other HOA members. What was that?
I think
couple
Bruce
weeks
is
ago?
here. No, maybe not.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4 times, and we just had himself, and then there were 5 or 6 other residents that were present for that
Okay.
conversation.
So it is possible to annex those streets.
I would say anything's possible, but I'm not.
Is it
That's not a conversation
for
that
here?
we've had like today or anything like that. Because again, we don't know what the actual impact will be with that area.
Okay.
But shouldn't there be funds in the NCA fund because you guys pay an NCA, New Community Authority, it's like an extra tax that I don't pay on Walnut.
We pay,
That money
we pay
should-
something called RETA, I know that.
Well, that's real, but you also pay when you came in.
We pay it,
You pay more
and the
to,
mayor's.
and that's supposed to be for your streets. I'm hoping that
Yeah.
our NCA is
Okay.
allowing those funds to be reserved for each community that's paying into the NCA.
Yeah, so Mike, things that we've learned is that their private streets are also not up to code for the village being able to take it over. They're much narrower. So they would have to rip, and this is one of the conversations, is that they would have to rip out some of their front yard and driveway if we actually had to bring those streets up to code.
But
So-
my question is, are there funds in their NCA for their neighborhood? But we have
That's not
spent
how-
funds throughout the village.
That's not how the NCA works. So for the street signs, we're using those funds to pay for these street signs for them. And then it's like PVC pipe or something. Again, I don't know these materials, so I apologize, but it'll be low maintenance for them. And we'll at least put those there today, so then that will help mitigate any strangers that might accidentally cut through there today.
So you're saying that, I'm just, help me understand this.
Yeah.
They pay, they pay the NCA tax
Mhm.
for their development. What's that?
Our
Right.
community pays for the NCA funds.
Right.
The retreat, and then the mayor's community. We have
So-
three
and-
communities today that pay into the NCA funds.
And are those funds being used, though, for those communities? Or are they being used elsewhere?
They actually haven't been used for a while.
Mike, up to this point, they haven't been used, but for, I think the only thing that's been used for is some fencing at the cemetery. Those funds are for, village-wide improvements that impact and enhance everybody's home values. But yeah, you got a good point there, because I don't like paying 8 mils and not getting anything in return.
Your neighborhood should be getting to use that NCA money for you. So, yeah, I don't know why we would use it village-wide. It should be for those residents who are paying that extra money. So, anyway, that's a side point. Keep going on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. Really, those are my questions. Yeah, so let somebody else have the podium.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. It was a good presentation, by the way. Anybody else, residents? Okay.
Charles Krisak. I live at 798 ATL Drive, and I'm part of the private streets. So hopefully my questions are yes and no. The traffic study you mentioned that is taking into account O3C and Arrowhead, is it taking into account, where Joshua's concerned, Walnut and Heathermere? Because that will be a route into the development. Heathermere to Zor to Fescue. Does the traffic study, will that take into account that intersection also?
Can I, yeah, let's talk about this. We want to make sure it's complete, right? So bringing in the Miller Farm traffic study, which is completed, and they're incorporating that into the study, that should allow us to see the traffic going from that direction up to Route 3, correct, sir? Can you come up for us, please? Thank you. So what I asked a question a little bit earlier about fescue, right? That the traffic study would show us kind of some information on fescue. So I think the question we have now is, are we going to see it on the Heathermere entrance exit, correct? Okay.
Correct.
And I'm asking the question, since we're going to see the impact from Miller Farm, and now we're coming both directions, will we see that impact as well on Heathermere?
Gary, do you happen to have a map? It would help me to have a map,
Oh, can you put the map back up?
visually see what we're talking about.
Yeah, so Heathermere is the subdivision just right to our east. So, yeah, it's, I think what he's asking is, are we going to study Walnut to this point to understand what the traffic distribution is going to be at this intersection as well?
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we want the traffic study to be complete. So if you can't answer tonight, I'll be writing you an email requesting that it get included.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't believe that's an intersection that anyone has asked us to look at.
Okay.
So
Well,
far,
I'll send you an email to add it, please. Thank
we
you.
are, we are looking at Miller Farms, though. I think there was a question about that earlier, and how much of that traffic is coming up through our study area. making
Yes,
sure
and
we
thank
account
you
that.
for adding
So-
that. I'm shocked that Heathermere wasn't. If I had known that, I would have asked for that too. So, yeah, count me in. Yeah, let's get that in there.
I did have a question about that. When you're talking about Miller Farm, you know, because at one point you talked about traffic here and this time. So I'm just taking one little section of my brain that I calculated here. But so at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, mom or dad is going to Kroger. Which way do you expect them to go to Kroger from Miller Farm?
Well, we're doing, we're counting some extra intersections to ascertain that, because the study area that was in the Miller Farm study
I can tell you which way they're going.
doesn't
I
overlap
can
with
tell you
ours.
right which way
Well,
they're going.
yeah, but-
Harrison or Walnut.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just didn't know if you know that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
is that
we-
calculated into that formula somehow?
Yeah, and for all the reviewers, we need to, you know, we can't just say we think it goes that way. Yeah, so we'll want to be faithful to what was done in the Miller Farm study, and then deal with what that analyst thought was coming our way, and incorporate that in ours. I hope that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I'm going to hit you up on the Heathermere thing tomorrow.
Thank you.
Second question is, once construction starts, will there be signage that no construction traffic comes down Arrowhead, Fescue, or Heathermere? That all construction traffic is basically routed through Walnut Street?
So, Gary, we've had this conversation in zoning more than once, so you want to,
Yeah, I think the answer to that is all of the construction traffic is going to come off of Walnut. We're not going to allow, we'll have signs basically on site that says no construction traffic. And that connection is actually probably not going to be made till like the second phase. So we'll make sure that we post that construction vehicles, equipment, those kind of things
Right.
are not permitted to.
Because I know when Romanelli and Hughes built the apartments in Sunbury, I don't know who was it, I'm assuming it was Sunbury, they put up signage right
Yeah.
on,
That's
on
right.
Sunbury Meadows. No
Yeah.
construction.
That's right.
I'm assuming we're going to have the same thing
Yes.
to our communities.
Yes. Romanelli and Hughes will control the kind of the access that their contractors have.
The other thing is going back to the private roads and basically everybody, well, we need to know what it's going to be impact. I guess my request is can we get a count? You know, you have the little thing you put on the street so that get a count of how much traffic is currently going through in and out on Zor and Botkin. So then we have a reference point.
Yeah, happy to do that. We've been doing a count on Arrowhead. We've had a request, we've done one on Zor already. We've had a request to do one on Heathermere, which we're going to move to next, and then we can move it to wherever you'd like. So just help me understand where you think it'll be placed.
Is if you look at, to try to determine the traffic that's going through our private streets, you would need one on Zor and Fescue and Botkin and Fescue.
Okay.
We'll talk about it offline. We could probably get a pneumatic counter too.
Yep.
Of just a box counter instead of having to move the sign.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
get that done.
I'm just looking that we get a count, so then.
It's a great idea.
Once things starts going, we have a base, okay, as of this point, we were quote unquote typical traffic and see
You know,
see
Has
what goes
anybody
on.
talked-
yeah, I
down
mean,
the road.
understanding, right, we'll do that, and I think it's a great suggestion. Understanding, you're not going to see any impact, real true traffic impact for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So the traffic study will give us an assessment of that added impact, but we'll have that baseline,
Exactly.
right?
Has
Yep.
anybody talked to ODOT? I know this is probably a no. Mark, you might know, I don't know, Jim or traffic guy, I can't remember his name, sorry. Gary, would ODOT be willing to give us a temporary construction entrance? Because Walnut, I mean, that's not a lot of room there to, I mean, I'm thinking of Sambucas, and, you know, big equipment coming through. I
Yeah.
mean, would they be willing to at least do a temporary?
I do not know. I don't know that that's a conversation anybody's broached with
Maybe I
them.
should, I'll send them an email.
I mean, it would be an interesting question to ask. I would imagine that they would view that the same way. Maybe not, but
Right.
it's hard to say. I mean, it's always worth the ask.
That segues into the ODOT, it's more a comment, is how they won't allow any kind of cutouts or it's extremely expensive. How is it that the new concrete business that went in on Route 3 has access in and out of Route 3?
So if I
I
understand.
guess I could, yeah, what's the answer, what's
No,
the answer there?
I don't know if I can answer it. Yeah,
Right?
they had
No,
an existing.
There's not, it's not,
There's two things going on there. Do they have access to a side street? So that's one of the other issues. If your only frontage is on Route 3 and you don't have access to take access anywhere else, if ODOT doesn't grant you access, essentially they're taking your property. So they would have, they're removing any economic potential from your property. In our case, we have access to Walnut, so that's not an argument for us. But for the concrete company, that we own this property, we intend to run a business, we need a way in and out of it.
I don't know, Mike, how long is that property sat empty? Until about
I don't
what?
know, a long time.
It's that empty forever, yeah. So somebody figured it out, apparently.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other residents before we move to non-residents? Okay, if a non-resident would like to come forward, it's the time to do it.
It runs out to Route 3.
Lisa, we have it in the record, please.
What he asked was, where does the water from the ponds on the golf course go? And well, a lot of it gets used for irrigation. That's the first answer, because golf courses generally rely on their ponds for irrigation, and then they have a backup pump to fill those ponds back up. But any spillover, I think, goes out to Route 3, and I'm not sure entirely where the outlet is. I'm sure Larry's the traffic engineer, but I'm sure the civil engineer knows. He's not with us tonight, but we can get answers for you on that. If it's are you, yeah, I think what you're asking is, wouldn't that be, so, I think the difference here is if that's a culvert under the road, not a culvert across the ditch, that's the difference, right? So the outlet for the stormwater, again, and I'll try to get a better answer where that actually goes, but that's not going to get ODOT to the point where they're going to allow us access, if that's what you're, what you're getting.
About halfway up the property, it cuts under Route 3 and
Yeah.
spits out the other side.
Yeah.
Jim showed me the one day.
Yep.
He took me around all the drainage. It was great.
Oh, Mr. Grosinger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say, real quick, last question, Gary, about this traffic, hopefully. When construction crews come in,
Yeah.
are you mostly going to be coming from Route 3? Because it would be rough on the bridge and the square if they came from that direction. Could we make them go down Route 3?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that, Romanelli and Hughes can work with their contractors to say, here's the routes we need to take. Now, I mean, if somebody is coming from somewhere else that they're already doing work, it's going to be hard to keep them. Maybe we can get them to come down through Sunbury or something, but it's definitely a conversation.
So, Gary, make note, because this goes back to some of what Josh's concerns are, and all of our concerns. When I came into this role, Walnut was already a problem. Okay, there's already a lot of complaints, a lot of speeding, a lot of traffic. And council this year allocated some funds to install speed tables. And anybody's gone up down Walnut in the last few days has seen some of the work started. That speed table will be installed at the park and will become the crosswalk there. And that will definitely slow you down. And finance team's already working on additional funding for additional speed tables. So my point being, your guys aren't going to want to come up Walnut, right? They'll lose an axle, right? So you might want to just go ahead and let them know that now.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I mean, Route 3 makes the most sense. I would doubt that a lot of those guys are coming from Licking County. They're probably coming from somewhere else. I mean, I don't know where Savco's office is, but, I think Route 3 is probably the most common sense access point for all of those guys.
And sir, to go back to your point, I live on Flintlock, so I actually live in your neighborhood. So when we were talking about the curb cut, the mayor can tell you, I tried to look at every angle I could for that. Like, for example, there's a medical office suite space in there, right? Which there's this obscure provision in the Ohio Revised Code, which means you need to provide emergent access to that. I'm like, what about the ambulances, right? They got to have a driveway. Nope. A hard no. There's the farm driveway, right? So there's actually gated access when that was farm property. We're like, well, that's a curb cut. And they're like, no, that's an agricultural cut. That's different. Keep moving on. So we did. We looked at it, 6 ways to Sunday, because I also get it, right? Like, the traffic is people drive fast on our road. So my full-time job is in law enforcement. And at one point in my career, I worked patrol, and I used to have to go out and work speeding complaints. And guess what? You know who I pulled over most time when I did speeding complaints? The people who live in our neighborhood, right? I hate to say that, it is. And then we did the traffic study with Morpsey recently, and guess what we found out? We do have a lot of traffic crashes on the square. They're committed by our kids. They're all under the age of 18. So it's young drivers. So we are kind of the problem. And to that point, as we go through this development process, whatever it is, whether this project comes to fruition or whatever comes down the road, we're going to have to bear the burden of growth, right? I think that literally one of the few things that this entire council is unanimous on is that we will look at new and innovative ways to kind of combat those problems. If that means that on Fiskew at some point there are speed tables, as the community grows, we can afford to, contract dedicated police services or start our own police department, we might be pulling you over someday, right, for speeding in the neighborhood. But nonetheless, we're going to do what we have to do. We're just going to have to get through it. But brother, if we could get that curb cut, that would serve a lot of it would. Trust me, I'm with you. It's in a prime location too. We could probably get access to the back of the church too, right? Which would probably help them. But it's just, yeah, they would really love that, I'm sure.
Okay, Mary? Go for it.
This is quite a lively discussion tonight. Mary Howard, 1765 South Galena. I have contiguous property, so thank you for allowing me to discuss things tonight. I have had multiple people come to me recently, and the residents, this is the best plan we're gonna get. We have to accept this. Sunbury's gonna annex the land. And so I've met with lawyers and city planners, and according to Ohio Revised Code 70922 to 70934, annexation from one municipality to another municipality is beyond complex. It is a very complex, very legal process that can require years, councils, negotiations, and then a vote by Galena allowing it to leave. So I do not see that as a viable option. Then there is the discussion of the 208 plan. So if it stays in here, and there's the 208 plan that Mayor Kendall's been fighting for, I really don't see this leaving. So right now, as much as I was super excited when I heard Romanelli was going to be the developer. I was like, yes. Then I looked at the plan. And unfortunately, when I come off of 3 onto Walnut and I look over there, I expect to see commercial, but I don't expect to see stone fronts. I think brick. But I'm not going to even see that first. I'm going to see some 39-foot high, 3-story townhome that it doesn't scream Galena at all. I really was thinking that this would be one of those neat developments that Romanelli does that takes advantage of the quaint nature, of the cute charm that Galena has. And I'm sad to say that this one doesn't. And there's a lot of ways that it could change slightly and it could bring that in. And I am asking you guys as council, this is your one opportunity to make a signature development here. Please take the time to really evaluate this and work with them to make this say, yay, we're in Galena, we're home, and we're happy. For all the residents that are currently here, not as much for whomever could possibly get here. So, and then on top of that, I have a couple of questions for you with if that's all right, or I can develop to council. All right. For a Romanelli development, I know that you all don't always develop your entire, you'll sell out the townhomes to somebody, the homes to somebody, the patio homes to somebody. How many parts of this development are you actually planning on building yourselves? Do you know yet?
Jim Olin, 148 West Rock Road in Westerville with Romanelli Hughes. So, obviously we're in charge of, we do commercial sites, so we intend to do the commercial component. We've designed the patio homes. We intend to do the patio homes. We've designed the townhomes. We intend to do the townhomes. The 2-story homes, we have no product like that right now, but we're looking into doing that portion of it as well. So we would like to bite off as much of this as we possibly can. We want to be a part of Galena. it'd be a great place for us and a great place for us to put our flag. So we're going to do as many as we can.
And then if you do sell it off, this is an accurate rendering of what you most likely would, the product that it would look like?
Yeah, so we're going to be in charge of all the development standards. So our development text is going to dictate what we do. It's extremely important to make sure, if we're going to be putting this much money into this project in this area, we want to make sure that the architecture and the style and the homes are going to meet with what we're doing, or it's going to be a tough project to get off the ground.
Because as I was looking at your renderings for the two-story homes in particular, they look like Ryan.
We didn't do those.
They look like Ryan homes to
They're
me.
not. They're not, but
They, okay.
yeah, we used another builders. We didn't have those product. We didn't go and design everything right now.
But you actually designed those
Townhomes?
three-story townhomes?
Yeah.
Not for
George
Galena.
Variety. Yep, that's, 100% was for Galena.
Because I know
100%.
they're in Sunbury, and
These are not in Sunbury. This was designed for this location,
oof,
this product.
I'm sorry. Okay. Wow. Okay, thank you for that answer. And then one other question, and this is more directed to council. With now the knowledge that the traffic study probably is going to take a while with ODOT, what is the path forward? Would you move forward to approving a plan without an approved traffic study?
I don't know how we could. I mean, when we vote, we need all of the information. I mean, I don't know if it can be sped up. That kind of threw me through a loop, honestly, when that question was asked, and you said maybe it's later in the year. I did not expect that.
I'm good at hot mics right now, so, yeah, I'm definitely, that would be beyond mind-boggling if that was the case.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for doing your due diligence.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Is that somebody coming? Okay. Oh,
Good evening, Annette McMurray, 3690 Worthington Road. I've grown up in this area, so I've seen a lot of the development and the changes that have taken place. We moved here from Westerville when I was 11 years old, so I've been here for a little bit. When I look at this, what I think about is kind of a downsized, a little bit different design than the Champion development we were looking at a few years ago, potentially coming into Blackhawk and Mr. Wright's land. And one of the issues that we had with that was the getting in and out of the community onto Plum Road. There's not a lot of space there. I think we're going to have the same issue here. And hearing over 5,000 cars or 5,000 trips in and out of this neighborhood, I'm trying to figure out how is that going to actually work. I live on Worthington Road, and Worthington dead ends into Plum Road. I am probably a mile down the road on Worthington. The traffic is starting to back up to my driveway. So I don't know how this is going to work. I also don't understand how we can allow builders to come in here and not have the infrastructure in place before the development. It makes no sense to me. It never has. To this day, it doesn't make sense. We don't have police. We don't have fire here. We do get services from neighboring communities. I'm trying to envision, the traffic is already horrible on 3C. We have the problems like you guys were talking about on a small town road, village road. I don't see how this can work and actually benefit our community. I like Romanelli and Hughes. I think they built a great product. I was disappointed in what I saw up there on the pictures because those did not look like Romanelli and Hughes homes, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of developments. There's one off of Worthington Road in Big Walnut that's Romanelli. There's another one off of Worthington Road that backs up to the lakes. This looks like Ryan or an MI. It does not look like a Romanelli. The other thing that I worry about is our school district, right? Yeah, I know this is going to be developed. I don't like the threats that it could go commercial or whatever. But I think we need to be very cognizant of the pressure and the impact this is going to put on our community. And I think that we need to start asking developers, invest before you build. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Have a motion to close the hearing?
Close.
Do we have a second to close the hearing?
I'll second.
Michelle, do you want to call the vote? Pete was the second.
Mike,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Jillian,
Yes.
Kathy, Zach,
Yes.
and Pete.
Yes.
Let me suggest a 10-minute break. We'll
We need to say
reconvene
the
again at-
time. State the time.
Sorry?
State the time.
The time is 8:25 right now. We'll come back
How much
together
do we have
at
left?
8:35. We got a few things left.
Can we just run through it, or? I mean, people
We
can
need-
leave. They can leave whenever. Is anybody holding you guys in the room? If you want to go, you can go. Okay.
Okay, it's 8:35. If we bring the meeting back to order. As I stated at the beginning, we're at the point where zoning has approved the application for Romanelli and Hughes. Based on our code, that moves to council, and what we need to do now is make a motion to basically accept the role of council to begin our process, begin your process.
Is Ken here still? Okay.
Do we need?
I just had a question about it. I don't remember that on MI, but maybe we did it.
You say what?
I don't remember it on Miller Farm, but I just.
Yeah.
So what we're about to vote on is the passing of the torch from zoning to council. Is that all this vote is about? Okay. All right. I'll make a motion then.
Well, yes, your zoning code. Let's see
We're
here.
just.
Yeah, so we are going to have Jillian make the motion to.
I have one more question. I'm sorry. That's funny. I know. That doesn't mean that we can't make any other zoning changes going forward as a body, right, as a village.
Well, at this point, what you're doing is you're passing, this was approved by planning and zoning.
Yes.
You're moving that approval to city council, village council.
Can it move back if it had to?
No.
At this point, it couldn't if we vote for this?
It's going, well, you have to do something. You have 30 days to do something. This
Right.
is the first day of the 30 days. You have to approve it, disapprove it, or approve it with modifications. That's what the choices are.
Approve what?
Whatever the plan was that was submitted.
Right now, we're approving the plan?
You're saying,
No.
planning and zoning approved it.
Oh, yeah.
Your choice is to go along with their approval. All that means is that you're going to have then the readings on the legislation to implement it.
Right.
During that time, you can go ahead and try to make changes just like you do in normal legislation.
Okay. Can we, but because, I think it was one of the last questions about the traffic study. Is there a time limit on when we have to start the first reading?
You have to do it within 30 days.
Oh.
Well, you have to make a decision within 30 days, then the legislation starts. So today's the first day of the 30 days.
So we are definitely not waiting for the traffic study then on a final vote on this.
I don't know. I'm not going to guess what the group of you collectively.
I mean,
do.
could we table it at some point? I mean,
It's
several
like any
readings?
other legislation. You're going to have 3 readings. And
Oh,
go from
sorry,
there.
Matt, go.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, but the way the zoning code works for this part is the only part of the traffic study we have to have complete is the MOU, and that has to be completed before council does their official approval after the 3 readings. So right now there's, Mark, is there 2 comments left to finalize, 2 or 3 that are still getting back and forth on, and they're yeah. Yeah, and so then the MOU outlines everything that's supposed to be in the traffic study, and as long as we have that in place before the final approval, then they're just required to do what they said they were going to do. So. Yes. Yes.
But he said it would be later in the year, so.
That's when they do the actual study itself, and they can't move forward with any of their
I guess the whole
implementation or
point I
anything.
have here is we want to make the best, when we make our votes, we're making it based off of the information, at least for me. Part of it will be in that finalized traffic study. It sounds like we may not get to that if we only do 3 readings in 3
and
months.
The other thing to keep in mind too is any of the changes that they have to pick up because of the traffic study also get worked into the final engineering that has still yet to be approved. So
Sure.
this is just the very initial early stages of everything.
The full traffic
Right.
study
That's
never
all.
happens until, the MOU is what is required for approval.
No, I know it's required, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
it
but
would
we
be
have to-
nice if we knew that
we have-
information before we vote.
Oh, I know, but that's.
I mean, from a
that's-
legal obligation, I understand what you guys are saying, I'm just saying,
Well,
wouldn't it be great
But they
though?
wouldn't do that. They wouldn't spend that kind of money. So
Right.
we have the MOU, like, they're not going to go out and do a full-blown, $100,000 traffic
So you're
study.
telling me that the ODOT is already
They-
assuming how we'll vote on the final project? or-
Whatever the traffic study, correct me if I'm wrong here, team, whatever the traffic study reveals, there's an obligation to, Jim, you want to just make sure that I'm right about that. There's an obligation for them to implement that, correct? Okay, yeah. So, and I'm not expecting.
That is in their
Yeah.
list of agreements that's in the binder, is whatever the traffic study says, they are going to do it.
So what we're trying to do is make sure every single thing is in that MOU, so it gets addressed. That's what Mark KM is helping us with, and also the county is helping us. We've asked them to look at it. We want to get every single thing that needs to go in there.
Right, Mark, plus the Heathermere thing we talked about.
Yeah, I was gonna
tonight,
say,
right?
that gives us
Yeah.
time to implement the comments that were made tonight, too.
Well, at least it's complete, right? Yeah. It's not, it may not.
They have to assign distributions. They have to say, okay, of all the traffic on Walnut, this is how many would be turning into Heathermere. If that's like 2% of all the traffic, there's no point.
But that's fine. I mean, as long as we know. That's what I'm saying. As long as we know. I think it's a reasonable request by the resident that we at least take that snapshot.
That's,
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
good. Yeah, besides what you guys are talking about with the traffic study, and just, I mean, it sounds like things aren't really sure what's going on here yet. The traffic study's not, like, we have no idea. Michelle made mention to maybe some things should be changed with brick. I mean, I think Seth and some other people from zoning might be already thinking about some changes. So, I mean, until those things are like set in stone and they feel like this is exactly what they want, I just don't see a
Well,
real
this is
need
part of
for
the
us to
process. We got.
take it out of their hands until they finally.
Yeah, this is just part of the process. We're
Get back to
following
their-
the zoning
I
code. We're
just say
following the
we give it back to
process.
their hands.
Isn't
and
this
let them
just us
redecide that.
basically saying the zoning commission did their job
That's right.
before it then comes to us and we make any additional requests and
That's what I just said,
modifications?
thanks.
Yeah, as part of zoning, I still stand by my vote to pass this to council. I don't change my mind at this point.
I'm the same.
Okay, so to follow our
Well,
zoning
Allison said
process-
no on the vote, and I just heard Michelle up there request some changes. And until we have
it's a
answers.
fair point.
Until we have answers from the traffic study, I think you guys should keep it in your hands.
Michelle had an idea. She didn't
Look,
say
that's,
no.
that's great, but that's not how the zoning works. The zoning made their approval, and the zoning's passing it up to council. Now it's in council's hands. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh, what the code says is that if they make a recommendation, and they have, you got it, you got 30 days to either approve it and then consider it. You got your 3 readings after that.
I'm just saying, after having conversations with Seth, and for Allison having a no vote, and what Michelle just said, and then with all the question marks that we have on traffic, we're not to that point yet.
Can I
No,
can I
but you're gonna
can I
have-
can I
but you're gonna
clarify
have
here?
3 readings to deal with it.
You guys, Allison
the reason.
voted no because of trees. Okay, that's the only reason she voted no. I know that because I sit next to her. The only reason.
She voted no? That's
Because of trees.
Okay, well.
She voted-
I don't think we need to have the full, I mean, like, she
Right.
voted no.
She voted no because of how many trees were coming down.
Okay, just let me finish. I was looking at the plans again at home, okay? I thought, and then all of a sudden, I was talking to Mike. I stopped by Mike's house, and be very honest about this, because I want to know what people think from both sides of all your aisles. Mary, I talked to her too, because I want to know what everyone thinks. This is not just a one person, one thing. Everyone, we have to get advice from everybody. Mike mentioned the bricks, and I went, huh. And then I started thinking. I went home, went to bed, not that I sleep a lot, and I went, huh, we are the brick factory. I have bricks of Galena bricks, which I put into my patios because I'm proud of being the brick factory, right? And I tell everyone I do. I told Jeff what I was going to do tonight. I told Kathy. And I rethought what I was thinking of our vision. I know the townhouses are 3 feet high. That's the reason I brought this. I know there was going to be, and that's fine. You can disagree. It's okay. That's what life's about. But I thought, wow, brick would make it look smaller. It would make it look stately. There's fewer people in the townhomes, okay? So it's not that we didn't do our due diligence. We did. I just came up with a new thought. And I thought, wow, because people don't like the 3 feet. Well, if you do all brick, and I drove around, okay, my little convertible today, and I started taking pictures, which I have, and I go, wow, if you do certain things with the roof and everything else, actually brick is number one, who we are. Number two, it makes it look smaller, okay?
There's a place that has brick right over where the Worthington Mall is. There's some little commercial shopping centers with that brick. It looks amazing.
That's the reason Josh, I don't get paid much for this job. I get paid a lot more at work, okay? So what I did was, I actually drove around, took my time to do that, okay? And I thought, what looks good? And I took pictures of the brick with the wood, different pieces, and I really think brick represents us. It gives us a smaller people. Only 2 people are living in those condos, rather than 5 people or 4 people in the homes. And I get it. And the footprint is right because these guys I understand. They are not going to develop this unless they can make some money. Why would they waste their time and take also, I mean, if they lose?
But I'm glad you're up there because I want to ask you.
Of course.
Sorry.
I don't care.
I mean, it's just, for me, it's very unorthodox that you guys haven't passed your minutes yet from the very meeting that you passed the project. And I'm asking, I mean, at this point, you guys are ready to pass it over, but it sounds like there was some hesitancy between what was in the minutes and what was not, and what you negotiated and what you actually passed. It sounds like some of the zoning members were not entirely positive that the things that they negotiated
Actually,
with the
Mike-
developer during the course of your meetings is actually in the plan that you voted for. And for us to take it at this point, it
Such a
seems
good,
silly to me.
such a good point, okay? I broke my hand in softball. Fingers are still swollen. And I wasn't there, okay? So I can't talk about that.
Oh, I didn't know
think Allison and I think other people wanted clarification on the minutes. They just wanted to make sure that everything was in the minutes so that you could read it and be exponentially read it and not have to go through all the videos and everything else. I wasn't there.
They did not believe that it was detailed enough, so they requested them to go back through and add
Exactly,
detail.
and they're doing that. It has nothing to do with the project itself. It's just they want verification of the minutes.
Well, yeah, but with all due respect, it does for me when I'm trying to weigh the projects that's being
Yeah.
handed to me. If these details still haven't been voted on and passed.
Hang on a second.
Mr.
The
Mayor,
minutes-
I'm
the
gonna call
minutes
for the
have
question.
been- The
I'm
minutes.
calling for the question.
Hang on a second. The minutes have been updated. They just haven't been back and from a zoning for approval. You've got the minutes in front of you, and you've got all the divergences and all the other information that's been pulled out of all the information that was put in the public record in front of you.
So Jeff, when
Right?
is our
Hang on a
next-
second. The minutes are not typically passed along with the application to council, but we did it tonight, okay? And the minutes are a summary. They're not the tell-all with all of the thing. And actually, Ken weighed in on this so that everybody in zoning understood that. So let's not make a big issue out of the minutes because they're really not required to move forward on the
I'm
application.
not trying to make a big issue about it. I'm just saying, what they
just
voted
did.
on, are they confident in what they voted on? That's
I
it.
think-
If
It
they
didn't call into
vote-
question what we voted on. We voted on the application, okay, that was submitted, right
Hey,
here.
guys.
Right here.
I think Mike has a point. I know zoning is not meeting this month, I believe, we're canceled. And I don't know what Kathy thinks, we could get zoning to actually maybe have a special session to vote on the minutes. But
No, here's what it comes, Michelle, the point that we were getting to is, okay, fine, we want to hand over to council as much information as we can, all the details, all in one swoop. Here you go. And so that's when it came back and some were saying, well, they're not detailed enough, and we went back and forth. And Matt has spent days after day after day
Right.
putting together, we have a better set of information now than we've ever gotten. I would never take it back to zoning.
And you know, I see everyone's point here. I really do talk to everybody. I try, okay? I don't like problems, I like to solve problems. And like everybody's input. Point is this, when we passed this, there was certain things that I knew, I expected you guys to be the guard at the door. That's what your job is. We did, okay? And now you have to define it. You now have to fine tune it. That is that's what I believe. We did our best. I think we worked with Romanelli and
You
Hughes
want
at
me to
our
see a
best.
guard? You want to see someone who wants to really guard? You're going to have someone staying on this street, fighting off people, walking up and down the street. When I see neighbors coming out here chasing people barefoot, a single mom across the street yelling out, and then a truck pulls back in and want to fight her because she's saying, slow down. Those are fights. That's what's really happening here. And you're talking about how many people at the end of this street plus Miller Farm. This is what we're asking, just to go to our code. Simple thing. Follow our code. Zoning, take it back and follow the code.
We always have,
Why are you giving them so much?
First of all,
follow the code.
Josh, first of all, I'm only one person on zoning. Second of all, we do divergence all the time. You did them when you're on there, everyone does. That's part of zoning. We have to give and take. That's called negotiations. That we did that, okay? Now, if you guys are to fine tune it. That's what I expect of you, especially Mike. Mike is a good zoning guy. He knows everything. I expect you to fine tune it. I can't do your whole job.
Okay.
Okay, we're done?
Thank you, Michelle.
So, Mike and Josh, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted that this development plan has met their legal burden, okay? So all of the stuff in here, it met legal rights and whatnot. So they then passed it. It then is coming to us, okay? So whatever type of masonry we put on the side of the building, they're just there to basically say, oh yes, they got what we say masonry is and on their buildings. So what type of masonry, whatever type of stone they put on the side of that building, it's then up to council to try and enforce it by saying, oh, we want you to do this oddly specific type of stone or brick or whatnot. That's our problem, not zoning's problem.
I understand that. It's just,
Because you don't seem to.
well, I'm sorry, but I've never been handed a past plan from zoning that didn't pass the darn minutes from the meeting that they passed the zoning plan.
And they've
It's
told
a
you,
very fair, very simple
and they
question.
told you exactly why they didn't pass it
Right,
at said meeting.
So why don't I have a past plan here? It's gosh, I mean, I get this all the time.
They didn't pass it because there was an actual problem. They passed it because they didn't believe it said enough in it, not because there was any massive problem. So
I've had conversations with two zoning members, and both of them thought that there were problems with what they felt like wasn't in the plan because it wasn't in the minutes, and they wanted it to be detailed. Now, maybe it's in here in this draft. It's very possible. I'm just asking a question. Is it normal to get a plan passed on to us without the meeting minutes passed from the darn meeting?
You have something better. You got a transcript. The transcript exists, which is about as
Better,
detailed
could
as
have
it
attended
gets.
all the meetings.
I will call the two zoning members and ask them if it satisfies.
Or do they want the
They want.
minutes because they knew you're going to do what you're doing right now?
They don't. What are you talking about?
All of
Okay,
this.
so-
All of it.
Per our code, I am going to make the motion to move that the Village
Wait,
of
are you
Galena.
saying that there was like some sort of collusion? I would love for you to make that accusation.
No,
Let's
I'm not making
stop.
an accusation.
Okay.
I'm just
This is
making a
ridiculous.
reference to general behavior.
We call the question and move to the motion.
Yes, we called for the
Got a
question 15 minutes
I
ago.
think Jillian was trying to motion.
We got a second to call the question. Is that you, Zach?
Second.
Michelle, we have a call the question on the table. Could you take a vote,
Jillian
please?
first, Pete seconded.
Jillian first, Pete second. Okay, Pete,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jillian,
Yes.
Josh? Mike? No.
Okay, the question's called. You want to move forward with the motion, Jillian?
Sure. I move that the Village of Galena Council adopt the recommendations from Galena Planning and Zoning Commission and proceed with council's approval process for the rezoning of parcel 417-420-04-003-000, 580 Walnut Street, commonly referred to as Arrowhead Golf Course, for Planned Commercial and Office District PC to Planned Mixed Use District PMUD. I also further move that the Village of Galena formally accept the recommendations from Planning and Zoning Commission and proceed with council's process to approve the Romanelli and Hughes development plan and submit for same parcel, including all divergences.
I'll second it.
Shall we have a second? When you're
What's
ready.
this vote for, Ken?
This is to move the legislation from planning and zoning to council.
What did we just vote on before?
Say again?
Isn't that what we just voted on?
No, we didn't vote, we called the question. In other words, the conversation ended.
Okay, got it.
Show when you're ready.
Yes. Kathy,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Mike,
No.
Josh. No. And Jillian.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. First reading ordinance number 2025-12, an ordinance changing the zoning of the 84.33 acre parcel being property of Minerva Golf Inc. from Village of Galena Commercial to Planned Mixed-Use Development, PMUD, based upon the application of Romanelli and Hughes and the approval of Village of Galena Planning and Zoning Commission and subsequent approval of the Village of Galena Council. First reading. Resolution number 2025-42, this is a third reading emergency, a resolution authorizing an application for Preservation Parks Community Park and Trail Grant, and if successful, authorizing acceptance of the grant, subject to the grant conditions, and declaring an emergency. The emergency is because we have to have this in by October 1st, this being the third reading. Do I have a motion to pass? Resolution number 2025-42.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a question about, I saw something in there for one of the grant requirements is that we have to fund the project up front. Do we have the funds for that?
Direct the question to the fiscal officer.
Well, I mean, if it's a requirement, that's a big requirement if we don't have the funds in the account. It's fair, I hope.
I can honestly probably answer this as part of the finance committee.
We're
So
making sure we
We would have the funds available to cover the upfront for this grant for the 50,000, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions about this resolution? We had a motion on the table.
Zach motioned, I second.
Zach motion, Julian second, so when you're ready.
Okay. Jillian,
Yes.
Josh. No. Mike,
No, I don't know enough about this grant at this point.
Kathy,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Pete.
Yes.
Jill, did you want to make a statement? Come on up. Go ahead.
I would like to say, Jill Love, 311 Caleb's Court, your incredible rudeness and unpreparedness for some of this is abhorrent. We have guests in the chamber, the amount of combative behavior. Yes, that is true. That's fantastic. I'm glad you do. I absolutely do. You know what, Mike? This is my time. Mike, this is my time. This is my time.
She's
And
allowed
I'll
to
say
speak.
whatever I want on social media, especially when we have other trustees who happen to be videotaping me. Thank you, Mary, who are meddling in village business, which I think is highly inappropriate. So yes, I think that you guys are being extremely rude. I think there's an opportunity for collaboration. You're looking at a preservation grant. Preservation Parks grant. Why would you stop that? Why don't you know about it, I guess is the better question. You're the one with all the notes. You're the one that has the opportunity to prepare for that. Why don't you know?
Well, I don't know why all of the items in the budget were put into the budget for all the special projects this year
It's our third reading.
It's your, well, it is your obligation as a council member and your obligation as well as your due diligence to make best decisions for this village. Thank you.
Well, I have a lot to say. I'm not going to say it. Moving to other business. Jillian, I think you have something to
Yeah,
announce.
I just wanted to update council quickly. I won't be able to make the 22nd meeting. I have my Simplify golf outing that I'm running. But I wanted to let everyone know that we're still in talks with Harlem about doing some type of partnership where, again, it's helping them keep their borders, helping us grow our general fund. And we also will bringing to council the opportunity with Berkshire as well. So we've had a lot of conversations with them. That's moved forward very positively. And then once we have everything wrapped up, we'll be sharing that with council. They'll be sharing it with the trustees. And we've all agreed that we would make sure that on each of our websites, we have like an FAQ, so all residents are able to find similar information. But once we have, again, that buttoned up, we'll bring it to you. But I just want to let you know formally, because I think it'll be announced on the 22nd, and Berkshire may have announced it on Monday already, so I just wanted to get that out there.
Thank you. And there will be more information on the 22nd about that intent to partner. We have an executive session. Before I move on, any other open business? Okay. We have an executive session to deal with. Ken, would you mind reading into the record what we're...
Yes, it would be appropriate to have a motion to have an executive session to discuss pending or anticipated litigation under revised code section 121.22G3.
Okay, do we have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Well, we've got Mike motion, Josh second. All in favor, executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're moving to executive session at 9:02. If we could clear the room, please. Thank you.
Check. Yeah.
Okay, we'll bring this meeting back to order. It's 9:07 PM. I'm going to read ordinance number 2025-13, first reading emergency. An ordinance settling the claims of Theodore J. Rosen, a former employee under the Age Discrimination Employment Act, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title I of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and any other claim, providing funding for the same by transfer of funds from professional technical 1000-790-349 to legal 1000-790-341 in an amount not to exceed $12,500, authorizing execution of settlement documents and declaring an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mike motion, Zach second. Take the vote, please.
Mike?
Yes.
Josh? Jillian?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2025-13. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
When you're ready, Michelle.
Okay, Pete?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jillian?
Yes.
Josh? Mike?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second? Okay.
Did you get those?
Josh was first?
Yep. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned 9:09 PM. Thank you all.